Chapter 373. The breezes climbed the mountain slopes until the air became cool enough to condense its vapor to drizzle. On the mountain top, the rocky peak, everything beneath seemed so small yet beautiful. Michael and Layla landed on this lonely mountain peak. Along with thunderclaps, the streams of lightning on the horizon indicated the coming heavy rain. Layla stood on the edge of the mountain peak, looking at the distant horizon. Michael remained silent, expecting Layla to speak whatever was in her mind. As though she was battling a war inside her, she opened her mouth, took a deep breath, and closed her mouth again. "I assume you don't bring me here for sightseeing," said Michael. "I need to tell you something." "No shit." Michael took several steps forward to join Layla on the edge of the mountain peak. Layla turned her head sideways to see his calm face. She just stared at his face for a couple of minutes before finally letting out a heavy breath. "I am pregnant with a spirit child of yours." Michael almost fell down from the mountain top. His calm face immediately took a 180 turn. His heart started to pound against his chest as he slowly remembered what happened inside the treacherous ocean. "System," Michael growled in his mind. "What?" "The system informed you that there is a chance of a spirit child forming inside her. The system made sure the spirit child won't inherit any of your characteristics and talents. The child will see the world in a few weeks for the first time in a long time." Michael's mind went blank. Since the system told him there's only a tiny chance of a spirit child to form inside her, he subconsciously hoped there won't be a spirit child. Not at this moment, but he never wanted to be a father ever. Every time Gaia talked about having children, he always changed the topic or ignored her. The last thing he wanted was to have a kid and raise that kid in this fucked up world. Nonetheless, fate played another game in his life. "Layla, what happened between us was my fault." While Michael stuttered, Layla opened her mouth. "I know how hard it is to grow up without a father in this world." She turned her gaze back at the distant horizon. "The fate and my fault together forced you to be the father of my child. I want to give my child a family, Ghost. I really do." For the first time, Michael saw Layla's eyes tearing up in sadness. Even after he spirit walked her, she was furious but not sad. At least he didn't see her sad. "But you can't be my child's father, Ghost. Not after everything I've seen. I would rather raise my child alone than letting the child inherit the darkness inside you." "Are you fucking kidding me right now?" Michael lost his cool when he heard Layla. Although he was not perfect father material, he couldn't keep his mouth shut when he heard her talk about darkness. "You people are talking like I'm the only bad guy in this world. You think Andrew is a saint because he is in love with the princess and was prepared to die for her." His anger towards the people's hypocrisy overshadowed his worry about the spirit child. "Andrew killed a guy who never showed any intention to kill him with your help. So according to you, is it okay to kill a guy for love?" Layla sensed a murderous aura radiating from him. He was sick and tired of people judging him and branding him as the big villain. The so-called guardians had done worse things than him. If someone ranked the evil in this world, he would certainly be not first, except everyone thinks he's on the top spot. He almost mixed up his Lucifer persona with Ghost when he talked. "No one is an innocent, Ghost. I'm not naive to believe otherwise. But there's something inside you, growing stronger every day. I'm not afraid of you, I'm afraid of that darkness inside you." Michael clenched his fist. Perhaps it was coincident, or perhaps it was influenced by Michael. The sky suddenly turned darker. "When you lose to the darkness within you, and you will if you continue your path, I don't want my child to be enveloped by the same darkness surrounds you." After these words escaped her mouth, silence enveloped the mountain top. Except for the claps of thunder, no sound could be heard in the area. With loud booming sounds of thunder, the heavy downpour made its appearance like a sudden guest. The downpour was so heavy that each drop was as large as a cartoon tear, and they felt like gravity had been turned up a notch. In a few blinks of an eye, the two of them were completely drenched in rain. As though the rain had washed off the burning anger inside him, Michael sighed. "My so-called darkness won't harm your child, Layla." Layla saw a smile dosed with gloom on his face. "You know, I never wanted to have kids of my own. Even with Elia." He looked at the distant horizon. "I was abandoned by my parents. The last thing I want to do is to do the same to my kids. But you are right, the spirit child will be better off without me. I never considered that maybe my parents too abandoned me because they thought I am better off without them." The thunderclaps reverberated the mountain top as though they were agreeing with Michael. "I know even you don't understand, but if your child asked about its father and why he abandoned him, tell the child I had no choice and I did it for its own good. It is the truth." Michael was almost certain that his enemies would find a way to use the child against him. He was trained to take out any potential enemies before they could become a threat to him. He always abided by this rule. Still, even when he knew the child would be turned against him by his enemies, he decided to let the child be. The child was innocent and pure. He knew how painful it is for a child to grow without a family to feel belonged to, without a mother to love, without a father to guide and protect. Michael had already punished this child by deciding to leave the child instead of being a father to it. He couldn't get himself to hurt the child anymore despite he knew the child might become a threat to him in the future. However, remember this, Layla? He turned back his gaze from the distant horizon to Layla. Protect your child. Layla was threatened by the sound of his grave voice. Protect from who? Me. Another thunderclap boomed just after he said, do not let your child be used against me. My enemies will stop at nothing, and so do I, Michael warned. Although he decided to spare the child, if the child tried to kill him in the future, Michael would end the child's life in a blink of an eye. Even if he didn't, Gaia definitely would. Ghost, for the sake of our child, why can't you just leave everything behind you and come with me? Although she already decided not to let Ghost be a part of the child's life, after hearing him, she tried to change him one last time for the sake of their child. The tears drops mixed with water droplets rolled down on her rosy cheeks. I can't, Layla, even if I wanted to, I just can't. Like you said, it'll do more harm than good to the child if I'm around. While tears rushed out of her eyes without her control, she saw him walking towards her. He lifted her palm before placing a rather normal-looking chain with a coin-sized sun attached to it in her hand. Maybe if I didn't meet Elia and fall in love with her, we might have ended up different instead of being like this. Layla saw a smile that hid the sorrow in his heart. He picked up the chain as she put it around her neck. She wanted to stop, yet she simply couldn't. The child is lucky to have you as its mother, Layla. Every single fiber in her body wanted to embrace him despite how he made her feel before. All the anger, fury, and everything faded away from her heart in an instant. But before her heart could overpower her mind to make her embrace him, he took several steps back from her. Both of them looked into each other's eyes in silence for a couple of minutes. Then Layla said, I want something else from you, Ghost. This will be the last thing I would ask from you. Her voice was shaking in a mix of emotions. Ask, I need your blood to give the child a physical body. That dash. Her words were interrupted when she saw him unsheath his sword from his back. Without uttering a single word, he cut his palm with his razor-sharp sword. The thick dark blood oozed out of the large cut. A vial immediately appeared in his hand as the blood drizzled into the vial, rapidly filling it with his blood. The vial slowly floated towards her as he turned back. The blood was still gushing out from his hand. Spoiled milk is still white, Layla. Everything you see and believe is not always right. Raise your child, showing it how this world really works, Layla. He looked over his shoulder to give her one last look. Goodbye, Layla. As a strange emptiness and sorrow were filling up her heart, she looked at Ghost disappear into the dark clouds. Chapter 374. The barony of Bradford was built amidst the flora of a mighty jungle and was truly a classic phenomenon. Its appearance was matched by the backdrop of grand forests which have helped shape the barony to what it is today. The trade resources these forests brought were of great importance, but they were also influential when it came to architectural designs, as the vast majority of buildings have been built with many natural elements to keep in line with the forests. The skyline was riddled with either elegant two-story or majestic three-story buildings. Life was great in Bradford. It had attracted a lot of attention. A few new cultures had left their mark not just on trade and relations, but also upon the barony's identity. Bradford Barony contained two towns, Bradford and River Town. The two towns were separated by lush vast forest and Hinling River. The main road connecting the two towns was well maintained and paved with white stone. Thus the road was called Pearl Road. Red maple trees stood on either side of the Pear Road as though they were the guards of the road. At the moment, a heavy downpour was watering the maple trees as the trees kept waving in the wind. Except for two carriages pulled by Pegasi, nothing could be seen on the road. In one of the carriages was the first king of Kingdom Bradford. Unlike other kings, this king traveled with neither a battalion of soldiers nor a group of royal guards. It's beautiful. Michael pulled the curtain aside to see the dancing red maple trees. The last time he visited Bradford, he flew above the trees. Hence, he failed to see their magnificence. So Ricky, what do you know about Bradford? Michael's question brought Ricky back to reality. He never thought he would become a right-hand man to a king. From a lowly gate guard to the right-hand man of a king, he couldn't believe the turn his life took ever since he met Ghost. Well, your majesty, the barony. Shit, Ricky slapped himself in the back of his head. Kingdom of Bradford has two towns, Bradford and River Town. Though they call River Town a town, the town was in decline along with the Sunrise sect until you joined the sect. However, Bradford Town prospered under the rule of Baron Totonk. Sigh. Michael heard Ricky let out a heavy sigh. What? Your Majesty, it's that I feel pity for Baron Totank. Is that so? Michael asked, gently brushing the head of sleeping Nightmare on his lap. Rumor has it that ever since Lucifer killed and hanged Miss Jane's body atop the manor, the Baron has lost his connection with reality. People say he has gone mad. What do people say about Lucifer? Michael asked as he had no idea about Lucifer. The name Lucifer made Ricky shiver. Unlike some cultists secretly worshipping Lucifer as their god, Ricky never wanted to meet Lucifer. The sight of Jane's horribly mutilated body gave him a nightmare. Ricky had seen his fair shares of murders and deaths, but what Lucifer did to Jane was something else. Ricky doesn't blame Baron Totank for going crazy, as any father who loves their daughter would go mad in his shoes. Ricky, Michael called him again as Ricky came back to reality. Some people say he's the devil and wanted the church and guardians to catch him so they could sleep at night again. Rumors have some people are worshipping Lucifer as their god in secret. Ricky heard Ghost chuckle from inside. Your Majesty? Ricky failed to what could possibly be funny about what he just said for Ghost to chuckle. If you know they worship Lucifer, they are not doing a good job in keeping secrets, are they? If it is true and you know it, the church and guardians know it too. There will be no surprise if both of them hunted these worshippers down. Michael could use these worshippers to strengthen the Order of Death again. However, it was too early to recruit civilians. Next time he streams himself, he might ask for people to stop worshipping him just for their sake. If they continue to worship and end up being hunted by the guardians or the church, they should blame themselves. Your Majesty, when will the army reach Bradford? In a week, according to the King Breedia. Your Majesty, can I ask you something? Michael sensed a sliver of reluctance in Ricky's voice. Sure. Were you going to really let the princess die? I mean, if His Majesty did not give what you wanted, what would you have done? The king was lucky I didn't kill that bitch then and there when she tried to kill me. Michael's words stunned Ricky. Stupid bitch and that stupid asshole. Ricky came with the most idiotic plan. Good thing you didn't kill either of them, Your Majesty. Killing the princess would have turned Breedia against you, while killing young Master Andrews would have made Winstons your enemies. You know, the Winstons were nothing but good to the sect. That's the reason Andrew is still alive. But after everything that happened, I doubt Andrew would be grateful to me for letting him live. Michael leaned on the seat, resting his head on his fist. He should be Your Majesty. Although the final ended up without a winner, everyone knew you would have won if it wasn't for the princess interference. I'm thankful to that bitch though. If it wasn't for her stupid act, I wouldn't have gotten a kingdom. Michael's cold chuckle sent a chill running through Ricky's spine. Let's talk about you. How is your cultivation going? What stage are you on right now? Michael could see Ricky's cultivation stage. Still, he asked to see if Ricky lied to him or not. He was thinking about giving Ricky and Daniel some important roles in his kingdom, but before deciding anything he wanted to make sure they are absolutely loyal. Since he has the system, it was easy to determine their loyalty. He just needed to make them their subordinates. At this level of the system, he could have a maximum of 11 subordinates. He already had Gaia, Raylene, Sadie Kaplan, Arya, Maxine, Azazel and Tiberius. After the tournament, he had more than enough points to completely heal Arya's two brothers. With them he would have 9 subordinates. Michael was thinking of making Ricky and Daniel the remaining 2 subordinates. Although Ricky and Daniel were not as strong as most of his subordinates, they were loyal to the core and hardworking. From this point onwards, loyalty wasn't the only thing that mattered to Michael. He needed powerful subordinates who could fight his battles for him. In simple words, he wanted to be the final boss. Body refining stage level 10. Your Majesty. I feel like I can reach the body strengthening stage in a few months. Michael was glad to see Ricky telling him the truth. What about Daniel? Sigh. Ricky sighed again. Poor guy is stuck at body refining stage level 8. Your Majesty. It was obvious to Michael Ricky and Daniel has no talent for cultivation at all. He had given them hundreds of thousands of gold coins worth the pills and potions. Still, they were stuck at the body refining stage. If it wasn't for the pills and potions, there was no doubt they wouldn't have reached the body refining stage. After we settle things in Bradford, come see me with Daniel. You two are too weak. We need to fix that. Ricky felt goosebumps all over. Everyone in the world loved power and Ricky was not an exception. If anyone could turn Ricky and Daniel into geniuses, it was Ghost. As the rain showered them from heaven, they made their way to Bradford town where the Baron's manor was located. The people who didn't attend the tournament had no idea that their barony had become a kingdom of its own and their new king is Ghost of River Town. Through the window, Michael saw the city wall in the distance. Nightmare curled on his lap, sleeping peacefully. Ricky saw a bunch of archers standing atop the city walls. Regardless of the heavy rain, They were patrolling on the wall's top. In front of the main gate of the city, a couple of armored guards remained outside. Since the carriages had the flag of Sunrise Sect on top, the armored guards didn't dare try to be arrogant as they waited for Ricky to slow down the carriage. "Open the gates." Ricky's voice and demeanor were not of a meek kid anymore. He sounded as though he was ordering the armored guards to open the gates. The armored guards wore helmets covering their faces. Thus, Ricky couldn't see the annoyed expression that appeared on their faces. Michael was waiting patiently for Ricky to deal with the guards. He didn't mind how Ricky sounded. As far as he was concerned, his subordinates should not be spineless cowards. "The Baron has ordered us not to let anyone inside or outside," one of the 5 armored guards said in a grumpy voice. "Why?" Ricky frowned. "The Guardians and the Baron are conducting an investigation. It's our order not to let anyone in or out. Unless Baron gives us an order to let you guys in, we can't do anything." Another guard spoke, but he wasn't as grumpy as the guard who talked just a moment ago. "Do you know who is inside the carriage?" Ricky had the courage to talk to the armored guards with his chest up because of Ghost. He was not the gate guard Ricky anymore, he was the right-hand man of the king himself. Soon these guards would bow their heads to him. "Who?" The grumpy guard couldn't take any more of Ricky's arrogant attitude. "Your king." Chapter 375. The armored guards as well as the archers who heard Ricky were stunned. They were speechless for a couple of moments. They lived long enough to know that the king of Bredia wouldn't come without royal guards and several carriages in front and back. Besides, they received no information about the king coming to Bradford. The last time they heard, the king was going to the tournament. "Here, show this to them." Through the gap between Ricky and him, Michael sent the parchment containing King Bredia's seal to Ricky. Michael didn't want to cause any acne by beating the crap out of the gate guards. After all, they were just doing their jobs. Although Michael knew they were just doing their job, he felt the urge to beat them when they were standing in his way. He could feel something is changing inside him. It was a feeling that couldn't be described. Even Spectre and the hitmen of the dark underworld massacred the orphanage Michael loved. Michael didn't torture them. He just killed every single one of them, including the girl he loved who did not inform him about Spectre's plan. Never before he experienced the urge to torture except when he met Calvin. He wanted to torture everyone who betrayed Abras. He wanted to cause chaos. He asked the system about his new feelings, but the system had no answers. Yet, Michael could feel something different about him. The guards saw the young man taking a parchment from whoever was inside the carriage. Since the tournament winter celebration was meant to be held tomorrow, they never thought Ghost or any participants would come to Bradford. As far as they were concerned, the 2 carriages that have the flag of the Sunrise Sect were occupied by the guests of the sect. Ricky jumped down from the carriage while keeping the parchment under his fur coat to prevent the rain from drenching it. "Who knows how to read?" Ricky asked as the guards looked at each other. Finally, an archer from the wall slid down from the ladder to come to them. Among the 12 guards in the vicinity, only one seemed to know how to read. Ricky wasn't surprised though. It was not a requirement for a soldier to know how to read or write. Education was for the nobles and the rich. If it wasn't for Ghost's strict order to learn how to read or write, Ricky would have been just like them, illiterate. "Here." Ricky handed over the parchment to the archer. The armored guards were staring at the archer and the parchment in his hand. They might be illiterate, but they could tell the parchment definitely came from a royal or noble. Seeing the quality of the parchment, the archer opened the parchment carefully to read the content. There weren't even minutes passed by when the archer's hands shivered as his eyes wide opened as though they were about to pop out from their sockets. "What is it?" the other guards asked. Instead of answering, the archer swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Bradford has become a kingdom." The archer's voice trembled. And, the archer stuttered. "What?" the other armored guards asked the archer after a few moments of silence. Only the sound of heavy downpour filled the area. The soldiers couldn't believe the archer. Ricky couldn't see the expressions on their faces, but he could guess they were completely stunned using the silence. "Our new king," the archer kept stammering. All the soldiers had to wait for the archer to utter the name of their new king, "is Ghost of River Town," as though the skies were waiting for the archer to utter these words. The moment he said the name, the thunderclaps reverberated through the city. "What you are holding is the king's decree and in one of your new king's hands. My first order to is open the damn gates for your king, His Majesty Ghost." The armored guards looked at each other. "Open the gates," the archer said. His look on Ricky completely changed. Each soldier had several questions running in their mind. The soldiers slowly opened the giant wooden gates to reveal the town of Bradford. With a swift jump, Ricky landed back on the carriage. After spending time as Ghost's subordinate, Ricky picked some of Ghost's attitudes. He even started to wear full black clothes like Ghost. As the carriage slowly moved forward, Michael looked at the town through the window. The streets were empty as Michael saw not a single soul on the roads. However, he could see the eyes looking at the carriage from inside the building. When Michael looked at the sky above the town, he noticed several figures in complete golden armor flying away from the town. Holy guards, Michael mumbled under his breath. Although the church had not intervened in his life as much as the Guardians, they were still a threat. He had been trying to establish a connection with the church to see if he could make them his ally. If they were his ally, he could spy on them, learn valuable information and turn them against the Guardians. The others, including Ricky, thought Michael had forgotten Jack since he doesn't talk about Jack or his death. In truth, Michael had never even visited Jack's grave, not even once. Gaia took care of Jack's family. They were millionaires now as Gaia gave 1,000,000 gold coins to their family as well as promised to take care of them and their bloodline. The Guardians would pay for Jack's death. Everyone involved in Jack's death would pay the price with their lives. It seems like the Baron and the Guardians ordered a lockdown, Your Majesty. But why are there no guards on the streets? Ricky asked while looking around the town. Like most of the towns or cities in this world, Bradford was also divided into 3 parts. Commoners lived in the outer part of the town. This part also contained shops such as smithy, bakery, and miscellaneous stores. The middle part of the town had lesser nobles who were either declined noble families or branch families of main nobles' families and rich merchants. If one wanted to find a jewelry store or a bank, they should look for them in the middle part. Only the ruler, royal family, and prominent noble families lived in the center. It was the richest part of any town or city. Although the difference between the town parts was not as drastic as Royal Land or the capital of Breedia, Michael could see the buildings look majestic as they moved towards the center. The last time he visited Bradford, he wanted to open up a shop in Bradford. Unfortunately, Jane Totonk met him in the alchemy store in the middle part of the city. If she hadn't met him that day, she would have been alive. As the Pegasi galloped towards the center, Michael vaguely saw what might be the Baron's manor in the distance through the window. There were several guards in full plate armor patrolling the surrounding area. The structure, as well as the atmosphere of the manor, reminded Michael of Ham House in England. He wondered how this world has so many similarities with Earth. Inside the Baron's manor, Baron Totonk lay on his throne with a large ale bottle in his hand. There were several ale bottles lying around him. The walls of the throne hall were void of any paintings, but there were signs of paintings hung on the wall before. Only a group of fluffy armored soldiers as well as an old man with a long gray beard remained by the Baron's side. The old man had a wooden staff that had an orb of fire hovering atop. Lord Totonk, what should we do with them? The old man asked, looking at the 3 figures kneeling in the hall. All 3 figures had their hands tied and heads covered with brown sacks. The brown sacks were soaked in blood. Our spies informed that their families have contacted the Guardians and they are bringing them here. Did they tell you something? Baron Totonk asked in a grumpy voice. His eyes were bloodshot. He reeked of alcohol and piss. The noble-looking Baron Totonk they served was nowhere to be found. After Jane's death, the Baron had become a new man. Unfortunately, no, my lord. They seem to know nothing about Miss Jane's demise. Humph, demise? It was a fucking murder. The Baron snickered before smashing the ale bottle on the throne. I don't care if I have to burn this entire fucking barony to find who killed her. Baron Totonk clumsily walked towards the 3 nobles kneeling on the ground. Lucifer, Goosifer, horse shit. It wasn't the devil who killed her, it was someone in this fucking barony. I can feel him, he's here somewhere. Lord Totonk. When he was about to fall down due to his drunk state, the old man tried to dash towards him to catch him. I'm fine. The Baron raised his hand, stopping the old man in his path. Unlike my baby, tears began to roll out of the Baron's eyes. Seeing a grown man cry like a baby made the soldiers feel a heaviness in their hearts. The Baron may have gone crazy since Jane died, but the soldiers never left the Baron's side. The Baron was a good man. They never thought such tragedy would fall on him. Although Jane was a spoiled brat, she didn't deserve such gruesome death. Even the seasoned warriors felt nauseous seeing her mutilated body. Since these 3 doesn't know anything, the Baron stood a few inches away from the 3 nobles. They can go to hell. Baron immediately drew his dagger out as the nobles let out a muffled cry through the sack. Stop. Just as the Baron was about to send the dagger into the noble's neck, the manor door opened to reveal a young man. Who the fuck let you in? The Baron asked as the soldiers moved towards the Baron to put up a defensive formation. By the power of your new king, I'm ordering you to lower your weapon. Huh? The soldiers and the old man was stunned after hearing the words coming out of the young man's mouth. Who are you, young man? The old man asked. He could see the courage in the young man's eyes. He lived long enough to tell that this kind of courage was only possible if someone powerful was behind this young man. In one of the hands of the king, His Majesty Ghost. Chapter 376. Ricky's words made Baron Totank's hangover disappear for a couple of moments. The soldiers and the old mage standing beside the Baron's throne had a "what the hell is this kid talking about" look on their faces. Ghost. The name brought back the memories of Jane trying to convince him to arrest Ghost. The Baron knew she spent the last of her days being mad at Ghost. He was the only one who messed with her and remained unscathed. At that time, his duty as a Baron seemed more important than caring for Jane's tantrum. After she died, Baron Totank couldn't care less about this barony and his Baron status. In his drunkard state, his anger shifted from the nobles to Ghost. The Baron either interrogated or killed everyone who had the motive and reason to kill Jane except one person, Ghost. Just like Ghost, Baron Totank also knew Lord information. According to the elf, there were some ancient spells that could open a temporary portal connecting the outside world and the nether realm during the 7 days. The Baron couldn't help thinking if Ghost used some means to come outside, kill his daughter, and return to the nether realm. It'd be a perfect crime, as no one would believe someone could come out of the nether realm before the opening of the portals. Even if Ghost had nothing to do with Jane's death, by punishing Ghost, he could give what Jane asked him. He thought of this as her last wish. His Majesty Ghost? Ah! The Baron burst into laughter. Ricky saw his laughter turning eviler by the second. When the rumors began that the Baron had gone mad, Ricky didn't believe it. However, seeing him laugh like this, Ricky started to have second thoughts. What kind of booze you drank? Ghost, King, the old mage realized something was going on here as he walked towards the Baron. Haste the king's decree. Ricky was smart enough to realize that if he continued to talk to the Baron, something bad could happen. Ricky saw drunkards start fights for no reason during his time as a gate guard. He quickly retrieved the parchment from his space ring and handed over the decree to the old man standing beside the Baron as he looked calm and composed, unlike the Baron. The Baron took a long gulp of booze while the old man was reading the parchment. Soon after the old man read the parchment for a couple of seconds, a glimmer of shock and surprise appeared in his old eyes. His hands even slightly shivered. My lord, with his eyes wide open, the old mage turned his gaze towards the Baron. My lord, the old mage called again to take away the Baron's attention from the booze bottle in his hand. Smack. The Baron smashed the booze bottle on the head of the noble prisoner before him. Ricky was stunned as he took a step back in fear. He looked over his shoulder, waiting for Ghost to walk into the hall. Ricky kinda started to regret coming here alone. He would have waited outside if it wasn't for Ghost and Claire taking a stroll around the manor to get to know the landscape more, as Ghost would live here after today. He's telling the truth. This is not barony anymore, it's Kingdom of Bradford. What rubbish are you blabbering? Give me that. The Baron pulled the parchment from the old mage's hands. Despite the hangover, the Baron could read the metallic black letters on the golden parchment. Ricky and the old mage both saw the veins on the Baron's forehead popping out. They could hear the sound of Baron's teeth grinding against each other. His body trembled as they sensed a cold, murderous aura filling the hall. So this is how they repay me in the Totank legacy? The Baron said, crumbling the parchment. That bastard. Ricky wondered if the Baron was cursing the king or Ghost. Either way, Ricky knew the Baron would not leave peacefully, not with his current state. There is nothing we can do, my lord. Compared to Ricky, the old man had so much life experience. He could tell for sure that the situation is going to escalate to another level. Although what King Bredia had done was ungrateful and borderline disrespectful, they could do nothing. After signing the parchment, even King Bredia had no power in Bradford anymore. Bradford belonged to no one but Ghost himself, as he is the king from today onwards. Oh, I disagree, Yanab. I can still do this. As he said, the Baron immediately dashed at Ricky. Unlike everyone in the room, Ricky was not very experienced in battle. His reflex and reaction time was way slower, as Ricky didn't even realize what just happened until he got lifted up by his neck. Ricky felt the grab around his neck getting tightened. He started to struggle to breathe. My lord Yanab, the old mage tried to stop the Baron but was stopped in his path by a death glare came for the Baron. Let him go, Baron. Suddenly a melodic voice reverberated through the throne hall. Although Ricky sighed in relief, he wanted the Baron to let him go so he could breathe. The Baron and everyone saw a girl with golden hair gracefully walking towards them. Her eyes contained a sliver of anger. Sect leader Claire Yanab recognized the girl. It has been almost 2 years since Yanab has seen Claire. She didn't seem like the girl he saw 2 years ago. Let Ricky go before he comes here, Baron, Claire came to stand beside Ricky. She was more concerned about what would happen to the Baron and his men if Ghost saw this rather than being mad at the Baron for treating Ricky like this. You think I'm afraid of him? The Baron was obviously not thinking it clear due to his current state. Claire knew that. I'm telling you for your own sake, Baron. If you aren't afraid of him, you should be. Now let him go before this escalates any further. Did he kill my Jane? Still, the Baron hadn't let go of Ricky as Ricky's face started to turn purple. No, what are you talking about? We all know who killed her, whoosh. Just when the Baron was about to say something and Ricky was going to faint, a powerful gust of wind blasted away the Baron and Yanab. Claire heard the crackling noise of lightning bolts coming from behind. My lord. The soldiers immediately rushed towards the Baron to project him as well as help him stand on his feet. Ghost, Claire turned back to see Ghost standing in front of her. The golden lightning bolts danced around his right hand while his left hand had a sleeping nightmare. The three noble prisoners were wiggling on the ground. Their heads were covered. Hence they had no idea what just happened. They just felt a powerful gust of wind pushing them onto the ground face first. I want to send you with the respect you deserve, Baron Totonk. Don't make it difficult for you. Take a walk and calm yourself down. Claire couldn't help sighing in relief. She almost thought Ghost was going to massacre everyone. Recently he was becoming very unpredictable, as though he was a ticking time bomb. There were 12 people in the hall excluding Claire, Ricky and Ghost himself. Baron Totonk was at the core formation stage level 3 while the old mage was at core strengthening stage level 3. The rest of the guards were only at core formation stage level 6. If Michael wanted, he could kill every single one of them, including the old mage. Honestly, he wanted to kill them, he wanted to massacre them. He was resisting killing them with every fiber in his body. Take them away, sect leader Claire. Michael doubted he would be able to stop himself from killing them. System, what the hell is wrong with me? Michael asked the system before turning back to leave the throne hall. System level is too low to answer the host's question. Please upgrade the system level? So something is wrong with me? Fuck. Michael cussed inside as he walked towards the door to leave the throne hall. He could feel the bloodthirstiness increasing inside him at a monstrous speed. At this rate he would really be the Dark Lord everyone was so afraid of. Stop. Claire saw Baron Totonk screaming as loud as he could. His eyes were bloodshot red. It was obvious the Baron was furious. Regardless of the Baron's scream, Michael didn't hear him. He was too focused on controlling himself from massacring everyone. He continued to walk away when Claire saw a ball of purplish fire appear before the Baron's hand. Don't. Claire was too late as the Baron threw the fireball at Ghost. It was not a powerful spell, just a miscellaneous spell used to chase away low-level beasts. The spell was quick to cast as well as it was a chantless spell. The fireball soared through the air like an arrow. Just as it was about to hit Michael, a light blue translucent shield appeared around him. The fireball disappeared when it hit the shield. Claire's heart skipped a beat when she saw Ghost halt his steps. He slowly turned back as she saw the veins on his face popping up. He was literally shaking, and Claire had never seen Ghost shiver in anger. Ghost. Claire approached him cautiously because something didn't feel right to her. Do not test me. Chapter 377. The words that came out of Michael's mouth sounded unearthly. It sent a chill running through Claire's spine. A wave of fear hit the core of the armored soldiers. Unconsciously they took a step back. Michael was on the verge of going berserk on them. Every being in his body wanted to slaughter them mercilessly. Did you hurt my Jane? Baron Totonk grumbled. You know what? Michael was tired of people accusing him with no evidence. Although he ordered Gaia to kill Jane, there was no evidence that tied the murder to him. He knew even if he hadn't done anything to Jane, these people would have accused him anyway. Everyone stared at Michael's face to see what he was going to tell. He took a few steps forward as Claire's heartbeat continued to rise. I don't give, he breathed between every word. He was battling with himself to block the thrust for chaos. Arg, suddenly Michael growled in pain. He lowered his head as he placed Nightmare on the ground. Yawning, the little dragon slowly opened his eyes while yawning. Claire and Ricky saw the side of his face while the Baron and his men could only see the top of his head. They could vaguely hear him mumble something under his breath. Give what? The Baron asked, gritting his teeth. His grief and booze he drank made him lose all the reasons. Give a fuck about what happened to that bitch. His words stunned the Baron. It took the Baron a couple of seconds to sink in what he just said. Michael's voice became more animalistic. It was unearthly. When the words finally reached the Baron's head, he stomped the ground in anger. Shit, something's wrong with Ghosty. Abruptly the door to the throne hall shut closed with a loud bang. After the door shut closed, suddenly the curtains covering the windows also began violently fluttering in the wind. The wind was so powerful that it forced Nightmare and Claire to step backward. Claire wasn't worried about Ghost but worried about the soldiers and the Baron. Regardless of the sudden darkness that enveloped the throne hall, she walked towards Ghost to calm him down. Claire. Let's go. As she walked closer to Ghost, she heard his words. The violent wind somewhat calmed down. Noticing he addressed Claire with no title, she knew something was wrong. She wanted to take him away from the soldiers and the Baron. His voice sounded normal rather than animalistic as before. Ricky, we are leaving. Claire ignored the Baron, ordering Ricky to leave the throne hall before Ghost did something that everyone would regret later. She even doubted they would be alive to regret their decision to mess with him. I'm gonna rip that tongue out, bastard. Baron Totonk trembled in anger before leaping into the air. A gigantic war hammer-plated silver materialized in the Baron's hands in the mid-air. Moon wave. Claire stomped the ground, turning back. She pointed her finger at the Baron as a sparkling crescent-shaped wave shot out of her fingers. The blade gradually became wider and bigger as they flew towards the Baron. Before the Baron could react to the crescent blade, the wave hit the Baron and sent him flying backward as though he was a kite without an anchor in the storm. Except for the old mage Yanab, the soldiers didn't see what just happened. Claire's movements were lightning fast. Back off. Claire stomped the ground once again as the ground split open. The cracks formed until they reached the feet of the soldiers. Yanab was pleasantly surprised by Claire. She seemed to be at the peak of core formation. The old man wanted the Baron to accept their fate and move on, but he saw the Baron stand up with shelved hair, trembling in anger. A battle was inevitable, Yanab knew. What are you morons looking at? Kill them. Nightmare flapped his wing to appear before Claire. He immediately transformed himself. The soldiers shivered seeing an 8-foot dragon staring at them with puffs of smoke coming out of its nostrils. Nightmare's crimson scales began to glow in bright orange. Baron, you really don't want to do this. I can hang you for disrespecting your king. Claire glanced at Michael to let them know who he is now to them. He was still showing his back to them. You stupid idiots. Once again Michael's animalistic voice echoed through the throne hall. You wish for death so bad. The violent stormy wind returned. The howling sound of the wind gave an ominous feeling. Ghost. Claire tried to touch his shoulder as he finally looked up, showing his face. When he turned around, Claire's heart skipped a beat. She felt a chill running through her spine. Unconsciously she stepped back and so did Ricky. There was no white in his eyes anymore except for his pupils. Everything turned pitch black. His pupils were fiery red like a demon. Lightning bolts began to form around his arms as he walked towards Baron Totonk. He may have become a king, but the soldiers and Yanab's instincts to protect their lord kicked in. Regardless of a dragon standing before them, they rushed towards the Baron. Ghost, stop. Claire dashed at Michael when he was just a couple of meters away from the Baron. Don't. Claire heard his cold beastly voice before getting blasted by an invisible force. Mary. Nightmare shouted when Claire was sent flying by Ghost. With a flap of his wing, he dashed at Claire. However, the force that hit Claire was far greater than anyone could imagine. She hit the wall, creating a loud thud before falling down to the ground unconscious. Michael seemed to give no shit about what happened to Claire. He continued to walk towards the Baron. Hallowing bolt. Yanab immediately pointed his staff at Michael as a bolt of purple energy blast shot out of the staff. The responsive shield immediately appeared to absorb the blast, but since Yanab was at core strengthening stage level 3, it couldn't completely absorb the attack. The remaining force hit Michael, sending him sliding away from the Baron. I will grant your wish. His pupils glowed brighter while the golden lightning bolts dancing around his arm became thicker. They produced constant crackling noises of electricity. The bolts of lightning coiled around his arm like hundreds of tiny snakes. The entire throne hall became darker. Regardless of the daylight outside, it was like evening inside the throne hall. Ignitia! Michael raised his arm as a bolt of powerful lightning bolt fired out of his arm towards Yanab. The death range enhanced his power exponentially. Before Yanab finished casting a defense spell, the bolt of light reached him. If it wasn't for the old man's quick reflex to leap just in time, he would have had a hole in his chest. Protect Lord Totonk, one of the loyal soldiers shouted before dashing at Michael with his sword held high. Ricky couldn't help shivering looking at the soldier running towards Michael. Ricky saw Ghost remaining there without even moving an inch. Poch. Just when the soldier was a couple of seconds from cutting open Michael in half, the soldier froze in his path. Nard, the fellow soldier screamed. Behind their helmets they were horrified. A hand was sticking out of Nard's metal-covered behind. The hand had a red oozing blop in its hand. Ricky's face turned pale as he realized the oozing blop in Ghost's hand was nothing but a human heart. The heart was still beating in his hand, but it was soon crushed into a paste by Ghost. Ricky immediately threw up. When Michael retrieved his hand, the soldier collapsed onto the ground. Looking at Ghost staring at them with blood dripping down to the ground from his hand, a dread hit the core of the soldiers. Still, they were surrounding the Baron and waiting for Yanab to help them. If anyone could help them, it was their court mage. "Anyone who stands in my way," a devilish grin slowly emerged on Ghost's face. It was not a smile that radiated warmth. On the contrary, it was a smile that created a tingling sensation in their spines in fear. Ignitia, just when Yanab was casting another spell, Michael sent another lightning bolt. He didn't even look at Yanab, he just raised his hand while keeping eye contact with their soldiers. Yet again Yanab dashed out of the lightning bolt's trajectory. Currently, there were 9 fully armored soldiers surrounding the Baron. Even for someone at the core formation level 10, 9 fully armored soldiers as well as a core strengthening stage mage was a huge threat, but not for Michael. The death range was cast by him without his command. It catapulted his overall strength to core strengthening stage level 6. One step at a time, Michael walked towards the soldiers. He kept tilting his head left and right while grinning. Chaos Blade, Savagery of Strength. 2 soldiers simultaneously cast spells that boosted their strength. They dashed at Michael. One soldier's metal armor began to glow in bright golden color while the other one became bulkier like the Hulk. They dashed at Michael from both sides. Michael grabbed the sword in one soldier's hand while grabbing the bulkier soldier by his neck. Before the two of them could wiggle, Michael simply snapped the bulkier soldier's neck. The bulkier soldier collapsed onto the floor with a thud sound. The soldier struggled to release the sword from Ghost's hand, yet he couldn't even move his sword an inch. The other soldiers wanted to join the fight, but they couldn't leave the Baron unprotected. Hence, they saw Ghost pull the sword from their college's hand like taking candy from a child's hand. Clang. As Michael took the sword, he snapped the sword in half. Poch. 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 The soldier tried to dash backward, but he was too late. Michael plunged the broken arrow directly into the soldier's shoulder through the metal armor. Without showing a shred of mercy, Michael kept rapidly stabbing the soldier until the soldier's lifeless body fell onto the ground. However, his brutality didn't stop at that. He stomped the soldier on the chest, crushing his chest. Death and chaos. TSK. TSK. So beautiful. Yesterday I wanted to release 2 chapters, but this chapter wasn't up to the usual standards. So I deleted the entire chapter and rewritten it so the chapter will be worth your time and money. Sorry for not keeping my word. Chapter 378, Mary, open your eyes. Nightmare shrunk himself. He rubbed Claire's face with his hand to wake her up. Ricky was staring at Ghost rip the hand off of a soldier and beating another one to death with the bloody hand. He couldn't see the brutality anymore as he turned his head towards sect leader Claire. There was a hole in the wall where she hit before falling onto the ground. Fiery frenzy. While Michael was busy stopping a soldier to death, Yanab screamed, casting a powerful fire spell. Immediately a stream of lava shot towards Michael from his staff. Humph! His crimson red landed on Yanab. The old mage felt a chill. He could feel his soul shudder in fear. The soldiers saw Ghost standing there without even moving an inch. In a few seconds the lava stream hit his body, but weirdly the stream went through him. Only then did they realize it was an afterimage as the figure of Ghost faded into thin air. They quickly moved closer to the Baron. He was still trying to push them away and fight Ghost himself, but the soldiers were manhandling the Baron to protect him. Suddenly Yanab's instincts kicked in as he felt someone's behind him. He tried to dash away, but a hand grabbed him by the back of his neck. Yanab opened his mouth to cast a quick spell, but another hand closed his mouth. You should have left when you had the chance. Yanab heard Ghost's voice. It didn't sound like the voice of any human. It was something different, cold, murderous, and bone-chilling. Now you are going to die, and oh. The Baron screamed at Yanab, but it was too late for Yanab. His head exploded into nothing but red mist. Lord Yanab. The soldiers couldn't believe he killed Yanab. Yanab was the most powerful mage in Bradford. He studied with the royal court mage of Royal Land himself. The old man settled in Bradford to live his old age in peace, yet because of the Baron, he died a horrible death. 2 decades ago, when the Baron was a young man, he saved Yanab from a beast attack. The two of them become like father and son. Hence Yanab loved Jane as his own granddaughter. Hence when he heard she was murdered by Lucifer, he immediately came to Bradford. Yanab always had the feeling that the Baron was in danger. That was why he stayed by his side ever since Jane died. Also, the old man wanted to find who killed Jane. Shit, quick, escort his lord outside the manor. We will hold him off. Two soldiers came forward while the rest of them grabbed and rushed towards the door. Too late, as they heard his voice, the soldiers saw him disappear from Yanab's headless body. In a blink of an eye he appeared on their path. Let me go, I will kill him. The Baron tried to wiggle out of the defense formation. Ghosty, stop, let them go, Nightmare shouted at Michael to stop him from massacring the soldiers. Unlike the Baron who tried to kill him, the soldiers did nothing but their job. They were innocents and they did not deserve such brutal death. I will let them go, the soldiers couldn't help sighing in relief. For a moment they really thought the dragon saved them all. However, when they heard his next words, they were horrified. To hell, the lightning bolts gradually disappeared as the dark crimson-red flame coiled around his arms. They moved around his arms as though they were tiny snakes. Nightmare noticed he was casting spells without uttering the name of the spells. Until one reaches the fusion stage they wouldn't be able to perform chantless spells, yet he was using spells without casting them. Moreover, the lightning bolts and now the flames seemed like they were being manipulated to his will instead of the cast using arch energy. If someone from the Sky Hall saw Michael they would be speechless. No one in the world except some higher-ups knew about the existence of ancient gods. Elemental manipulation was the power wielded by the ancient god themselves. No mortal could even grasp the basics of elemental manipulations, yet Ghost controlled two elements, lightning and fire. Go. We will buy you as much time as we can. The two brave soldiers knew they couldn't stop him, yet the oath they took to protect the Baron gave them the courage to face Ghost. The one who was at the fault was the Baron himself. If it wasn't for him picking up the fight with Ghost, those soldiers and Yanab would have still been alive. For the Baron. For the Baron. The two soldiers dashed at Michael, letting out a loud battle cry. Nightmare flapped his wing to dash at Michael before he could kill the two soldiers. The dragon wanted to save Ghost from himself. The Ghost he knew would have never killed them. He was cunning and calculating. However, at the moment he seemed like a new person. Even when he was in his Lucifer persona, Nightmare had never seen him lose his cool. He always remained level-headed. More than ever he missed Gaia now. If anyone could stop Ghost, it was Gaia. Get her out of here. Nightmare flew at Michael after instructing Ricky to get Claire out of the throne hall. Ghost. Nightmare was flying towards him, the soldiers were dashing at Michael, the soldiers were escorting the Baron towards the door, and Ricky was taking Claire away from Ghost. Everything seemed like it was happening in slow motion to Michael. He never felt this strong before. Those soldiers and everyone in the room seemed so puny. Feel like barbecue. As Michael grinned, he raised his arms as two scorching hot streams of fire shot from both his hands. Arg! The fire enveloped the two soldiers. Their screams of agony echoed through the manor's walls, but soon, their cries disappeared. In the place they stood before remained nothing but a pile of hot ashes and two scorched skulls. Ghost! Nightmare cried. Just as the dragon was about to reach him, he turned his gaze to look at Nightmare. Seeing the crimson-red eyes staring at him, Nightmare felt a chill. In the corner of his eyes, Nightmare saw finally Ricky leave the hall with Claire. He felt somewhat relieved in his heart. But the moment the door shut behind Ricky, the entire hall turned dark. Only Michael's red eyes and Nightmare's glowing crimson scales could be seen in the hall. Regardless of the sudden blackout, Nightmare could see Michael's figure. He was getting taller and bulkier. Suddenly a bright white light flashed across Nightmare's face. The light made him close his eyes, and when he opened his eyes, he was lying on the bed in Lucifer's underground mansion in the dark forest. Back at the Baron's manor, Baron Totonk heard his soldiers cry in agony. The sound of bone and metal crunching lessened his hangover. The darkness in the hall coupled with what he saw made the Baron feel a tingling fear in his heart. Fucker, where are you? Baron growled. What kind of sorcery is this? Baron was unable to comprehend how he turned the day into night. As he was trying to cast a light spell, a wave of hot liquid splashed on his face. In a few moments, the hall completely became silent. He could literally taste blood in his mouth. He knew the hot liquid was the blood of his men. Once again the war hammer materialized in the Baron's hand. He was prepared to defend himself and kill Ghost. However, he didn't see Ghost. Instead, he vaguely saw the red glowing eyes moving away from him. The warhammer radiated a faint light that enabled the Baron to vaguely see Ghost standing before the three noble prisoners. He could hear the nobles mumble, but soon, he heard the sound of a dagger slicing through flesh and blood. The Baron continued to see the red glowing eyes moving around the hall as though Ghost was looking for something. Fucker, Face me like a man? Tisk tithi. Am not a man, the Baron heard his voice coming from all directions. He couldn't pinpoint where he was talking from. The Baron started to wave his warhammer all around hoping to hit Ghost. I am much more than just a man. The Baron swung his warhammer violently, turning behind as he heard Ghost talk from behind. Let's talk about what a failure of a man you are. Baron heard Ghost snicker. You were searching and punishing whoever might have killed your daughter. Baron swung his warhammer yet again in the dark. She died because of your incompetence. As a father, you were supposed to protect her. Ghost's words were like needles piercing through his heart. You were trying to blame someone else for her death. Baron continued to swing his warhammer in anger. It was you who spoiled her. If anyone is to be blamed, it should be you. A failed father. As the Baron heard these words, without even his control or willingness, he lost the hold of the warhammer. Tears flooded out of his eyes as he fell to his knees. You spoiled her and made what she was, her death, and you. Baron could hear the voice getting closer and closer. However, he was in no mood to fight. The words uttered by Ghost shifted the blame and anger from Lucifer to himself. Imagine how she would have cried for her daddy. When the life was leaving her, she would have prayed for you, prayed for her father to come and save her. Baron felt a gust of wind as he looked up to see the glowing red eyes of Ghost staring directly in his eyes. You failed her, you failed your baby girl, you let her suffer, you let her go through that pain and agony, you killed her. The words were doing something inside the Baron. He couldn't take it anymore. The Baron wanted nothing but Ghost to stop. It felt like these words torturing his soul itself. He couldn't help imagining Jane crying for him to save her. Take this and take your pathetic life. At least you will get a chance to say sorry for failing her. The Baron felt Ghost placing the dagger in his hand. Jane, the Baron mumbled as he gripped the dagger tighter. Don't make her wait this time, Pulch. As the darkness faded away from the hall, several lifeless bodies could be seen lying on the hall. One of the bodies was the Baron with a long deep cut around his neck. Chapter 379 Crime Investigation. When the heavy rain finally slowed down to a drizzle, two figures landed on the front lawn of the Baron's manor in Bradford. As they descended on the ground, they were welcomed by a bunch of guards in both full metal armor and leather armor. Archers were atop the manor looking at the surrounding cautiously while several groups of soldiers patrolled the manor around. There was red tape surrounding the manor with commoners staring at the manor from behind the tape. The soldiers were struggling to keep the commoners from crossing the line. Regardless of the dark clouds hovering in the sky above them, the people didn't seem like they would leave the manor. The soldiers didn't dare to stop the two figures because they all knew who they were, guardians. The two figures who came were none other than Peyton and Zanali. What's going on here? Zanali asked Peyton, looking at the tensed faces of the soldiers. Zanali expected the people of Bradford to be in shock, but they looked more terrified than shocked. You will know soon, Peyton simply said instead of explaining. The two of them walked towards the manor's main door. Some of the soldiers who saw the Guardian crest on Peyton and Zanali's clothes heaved a sigh of relief. Along the way, the soldiers who were patrolling the manor halted their steps to bow. Giving them a simple nod, Peyton and Zanali made their way towards the manor. The two soldiers standing near the door quickly opened up the door without a question when they saw the Guardian crest on their chests. As the door slowly opened, they saw a couple of holy guards talking to a young man. Peyton had seen the dark-haired young man before at the arena. He dressed in full black like Ghost, but he was far cry from Ghost. Peyton knew who he was. He was one of the Ghost's lackeys, Ricky Cruz. Born and raised in a poor family, joined the military of Bredia when he was 16 years old after his father retired from the post of gate guard. His life turned upside down when he met Ghost. At the moment, Ricky's monthly wage was far greater than any soldier on the continent. Within a year, Ricky brought his family from a small village in Bredia to the residential area of the Sunrise Sect. Ghost was transforming the Sunrise Sect mountain range into his own mini-kingdom. They were creating several zones in the mountain range. The main mountain had constructions related to the sect and academic purposes. According to Peyton's New Dawn team, the second zone was supposed to be a residential area. Another rumor she heard about Ghost as he was searching for elven architects to work with dwarves to transform the mountain range without destroying the forests and wildlife in the mountain range. His love for nature always made Peyton really wonder about his personality. He never seemed like a person who would care for Mother Nature. However, he was an alchemist and the owner of the largest herbal garden in Bredia. Hence, his love for nature somewhat made sense. Taking her glance away from Ricky, Peyton saw several horribly mutilated bodies lay on the ground. The entire hall reeked of blood and arch energy. Miss Peyton, Suddenly Peyton heard a calming voice from behind. She turned back to see Ghost walking towards her with a welcoming smile on his face. "I wish we had met under a different circumstance," she nodded as he turned his gaze towards Zanali. "Miss." Zanali gave him a cold nod, but he didn't seem like he cared. "What happened here, Ghost? Or should I call you King Ghost?" Zanali noticed the smile on Peyton's face. It was peculiar as she thought Peyton hated Ghost to the core. "Nah. I prefer you call me Ghost as long as I don't have to call you Guardian Peyton." Too tongue-twisty, Ghost chuckled as Peyton nodded. "What happened here?" The smile on Ghost's face disappeared as he sighed after hearing Peyton's question. "Follow me, it's better if I showed you." Peyton and Zanali followed him behind to the east side of the throne hall. The shadows of pillars and the curtains darkened the floor beneath. The closer they got, they saw a body lying on the ground. Compared to the rest of the bodies, the body before them was intact. "That's Baron Totonk." Zanali was stunned. She looked at the deep cut around his neck before turning her gaze back at Peyton. Peyton, however, didn't look as shocked as her. She just adjusted her square spectacles, taking a closer look at the dagger in the Baron's hand. "The Holy Guards are still doing the investigation, but it seems like the Baron took his life with that dagger after going mad on the poor soldiers, based on the cut and the Baron's body position." Peyton agreed with Ghost on the fact he took his own life. "The Holy Guards took the Baron's warhammer. Some soldiers were beaten to death with the hammer, at least it looks that way." Sigh, Ghost sighed as he continued. "The soldiers' family have to conduct a closed casket funeral. I will make sure their families get what they deserve and more." Peyton nodded. "I saw 2 piles of ashes with skulls. I don't think the Baron was powerful enough to cast a spell that powerful. I heard the personal guards of the Baron were at core formation level 6. The Baron was weaker than them and not a mage." "Follow me yet again." Zanali followed Ghost behind. They were walking towards the throne where Zanali saw a Holy Guard in full white metal armor standing beside. Noticing the Guardians approaching, the Holy Guard walked away from the body. As the Holy Guard moved away from the body, Zanali saw the complete body, or what was left of it. In the place where the head should have been, Zanali saw brain matter, skull pieces, and blood. She felt nauseous just by looking at it. She thought Gaia's killing was brutal, but what happened inside the throne hall was on another level compared to the killings of Gaia. Zanali couldn't believe it was done by a normal being. It seemed like something much worse stormed into the hall and massacred them without a shred of mercy. Their bodies were mutilated. She doubted even Ghost was capable of such violence. "Oh," Peyton whistled as she took a look at the staff in the mage's hands. "If I'm a gambling man, I would say this is Yanab, the Baron's court mage, and he has something to do with that spell." "Maybe." Peyton squatted near the body. She studied the body for a few moments before turning her gaze to look at the 2 piles of ashes. Meanwhile, Zanali and Ghost patiently stared at Peyton. "It depends on how powerful the spell was, but the distance makes sense." "Of course it does," Michael thought. He was not a hitman in this world as he used to be, but that didn't mean he forgot how to erase the evidence and create new ones to throw the authorities off. It took him half an hour to rearrange the bodies and set up a new crime scene. As far as Michael was concerned, unless someone like Sherlock Holmes comes to see the crime scene, no one could find any evidence that ties him to the killings. As for Ricky and Claire, he didn't worry about them. He made Ricky his subordinate to see the loyalty level. The youngster was 95% loyal to him. In addition to being loyal, Ricky promised he won't tell a soul what happened in the throne hall. Of course, Michael didn't believe his words alone. Yet, Ricky was too valuable and loyal to just kill him. Hence, Michael placed a spy cam on him and ordered Azazel to monitor him all day every day. If Ricky kept his mouth shut, he would live. Claire's situation was somewhat complicated thanks to his stupid outburst. His instincts told Michael not to harm Claire but only place a spy cam on her too. In truth, Michael didn't think Claire would ever rat him out to the Guardians. Just like Ricky, she would not be harmed as long as she kept her mouth shut. Although he didn't want to kill Claire, if she ratted him out, he would have to kill her. Too much was at stake. He was mad at himself for not being able to control his bloodthirstiness. He felt like he was caged inside his own body and someone else took over his body to kill them all. The moment he finished dealing with the Guardians and the Holy Guards, he wanted to have a long chat with the system to find what was wrong with him. The urge to kill was under control unlike before, but he wanted to fix himself before he was being taken over. "Ghost, did you inform the Baron's family?" Peyton asked. "Yes, I sent the men to let his sons know what happened here. Giving the answers of what really happened here depends on Holy Guards and you guys. I urge you to do a complete investigation. My men and I will help in any way we can. Your Majesty, the nobles are here." Peyton saw Ricky call for Ghost. "Excuse me, Miss Peyton, I have kingly duties to take care of now." "Of course we will be in touch," Peyton said. Zanali stared at Ghost's figure slowly disappearing from her sight. Then she asked Peyton, "What do you think that happened here, Peyton? You buy his story?" "I don't," Peyton adjusted her spectacles. "But I also don't think he has something to do with the killings. He is a core formation level 10. Although he is very powerful, he couldn't have killed all those core formation warriors and a core strengthening stage mage. I knew Mage Yanab, he couldn't have been killed by Ghost." Peyton was not wrong though. What killed them all was not indeed Ghost. It was something much more powerful, the sprout of the true Dark Lord. Chapter 380. Back in the dark forest, Michael was standing in front of a mirror staring at his reflection. "My lord, you're here." Azazel hovered through the walls to see Michael. The demon butler frowned, noticing the scars on Ghost's body. "Something happened, my lord?" Azazel asked. Ghost was not wearing any face mask to hide his face. Azazel was completely loyal to him. Besides, in the future, Azazel would have to work with both his personas, Ghost and Lucifer. He thought of Azazel as Alfred to his Batman. Baron Totonk and a bunch of soldiers who were just doing their job were killed, Ghost said, throwing the long coat he was holding in his hand to the bed. "Who killed them, my lord?" "Me." Michael slowly walked towards the mirror. He put his hand on the mirror. Boom. Suddenly Michael punched the mirror as the glass mirror shattered into tiny pieces. The broken pieces on the ground reflected Michael's angered face. "Have you finished with the surveillance room?" Azazel nodded. "Yes, my lord, I can now monitor your spycams 24/7. "Good, now go. I need some time alone. I will be waiting for your order, my lord." Bowing his head, Azazel left the room. After Azazel left the room, Michael sat on the bed. On his face, there was no sign of delight thinking about how he was going to break through to the core strengthening stage. Rather, he was more worried about his outburst and the third persona. "System, what's happening to me?" Michael entered the system interface. Staring at the status window, he asked the system. "The system's level is too low. The next upgrade will cost the host 200,000 badass points. Does the host wish to upgrade the system to 4.0? Do it." Michael was too focused on what just happened to him. He wasn't in the mood to bitch with the system for its uselessness to this situation. The experience cap for each level in the core strengthening stage will be reduced by 25% after upgrading the system. Initial experience cap 800,000, System 4.0 experience cap 600,000, System upgrade is in progress. I hope you have an answer to my problem. System version 3.0 host. Michael cultivation level. Core formation stage level 10 experience points. 400,000/400,000, 1,800,000 points remaining to be consumed. Badass points. 500,000 skills and spells. Wind Blast LVL6 Responsive Shield LVL8 Environment Scanning LVL6 Ignitia LVL8 Lightning Dash LVL6 Energy Devour LVL2 Death Range LVL3 Eyes of Darkness Normal. Can sense the cultivation level of others. Eyes of Darkness Lucifer. Can sense the cultivation level of others. Can see through. Illusions Cloud of Darkness Lucifer. Weak-willed enemies will lose their courage completely and surrender. Death range will be 50% more powerful. If activated in darkness, the host's cultivation level will be boosted 4 levels up regardless of the stage barrier. Wordless Spellcaster Lucifer. In full Lucifer form, the host just has to think of the spell to cast it. Techniques. Swords of Destiny 95% Mastery Ring of Fire, 83% Mastery Serpent Maga, 96% Mastery Occupation. Core Disciple of Sunrise Sect, the Guardian of Sunrise Sect, Lord Lucifer of the Abyssal, the Dark Lord, King of Bradford. Status. Healthy goals. Control the world, rebuild the Order of Death. Utility function. Banker LVL 5, ratio, 1,000 gold coins, 40 badass points, runic teleportation X-ray vision, also integrated with Eyes of Darkness. Wealth. 5 million gold. Special trait. 5-star Alchemist 3-star Inventor. Subordinates. Gaia Warrior, loyalty level 100%. Raylene 5-star Chef, loyalty level 99%. Arya, Assassin, loyalty level 38%. Heinberg Warrior, loyalty level 35%. Maxine Warrior, loyalty level 98%. Tiberius Warrior, loyalty level 45%. Sadie, loyalty level 30%. Ricky, loyalty level 95%. The Silent Reaper Crew Pirates, loyalty level 80%. Base of operation. Sunrise Sect, the Abyssal, the Crypt Kingdom of Bradford. Familiars. Nightmare, Forest Dragon, Vidora, 3-headed Hydra. While the system was upgrading itself, he noticed the 5% loyalty drop in the Silent Reaper crew. It made sense though, as they were stuck in the crypt instead of pillaging the ships in the sea. Ever since the Guardians destroyed the Silent Reaper, Michael was keeping the pirate crew in the crypt in Undead Island. He provided enough rations for them to last for 3 months. Although Maxine was there to oversee the pirates, the crypt was like a cage to the free-spirited pirates. Michael lost track of time. In a blink of an eye, 6 hours passed by. The system upgrade is completed. Current system level 4, 0. The host has 1,600,000 experience points left to consume. Does the host wish to consume the points? Before we do that, tell me what happened to me earlier? The system's level is too low. What the? Michael couldn't believe what he just heard. He spent 200,000 badass points to upgrade the system, yet he received nothing. On top of being pissed at himself, the system's uselessness kindled the fire of anger inside him. Shit, how much for the next upgrade? 600,000 badass points? Michael wanted to punch the system if it had a physical body. However, he quickly controlled his anger before he might lose control again. Instead of getting consumed by anger, Michael calmed himself down. He tried to think instead of letting the anger overtake his brain. System, consume the points. The breakthrough to the core strengthening stage will take 4 days. Warning. The system will be offline for 4 days. Warning. The host will be in an unconscious state for 4 days. The system will notice the host if the host was in danger. Do it. Michael wasn't worried about his safety as he was in the dark forest. Besides, he let the elders handle the meeting with the nobles in Bradford. His top priority now was to get stronger and find a cure for his new problem of losing control of his mind. Congratulations to the host for reaching the next stage, the core strengthening stage. Congratulations to the host for leveling up. The current level is core for strengthening stage level 1. Congratulations to the host for leveling up. The current level is core for strengthening stage level 2. Congratulations to the host for leveling up. The current level is core for strengthening stage level 3. Unlike before, Michael received neither gifts nor special items from the system for upgrading it to the next level or reaching the core strengthening stage. For others, Michael was cultivating in a heaven-defying speed. But for him, he was moving at a snail's pace. In a blink of an eye, 4 days had passed. Slowly, Michael felt the control of his body returning to him. His consciousness returned as he slowly opened his eyes. In Ghost Persona, the host is undefeatable to anyone under core strengthening stage level 5. In Complete Lucifer Persona, the host is undefeatable to anyone under core strengthening stage level 7. When he activates the Cloud of Darkness and Eyes of Darkness, his Lucifer form would be completed. In that complete form, if he activated the death range in the darkness, his power would be boosted 4 levels higher. Hence he would be undefeatable to anyone at or under core strengthening stage level 7. I must find an answer to my problem, Michael mumbled to himself. Do I suffer from multiple personalities? It can't be. I created Lucifer to dominate the world, but people had been expecting me for thousands of years. Michael did not even leave the bed as he began to ponder. Only thing that makes me different from the young masters like Noah is my ability to keep myself calm. I cannot lose my reasoning ever again. I need to fix myself, but where do I search for answers to my problem? He missed Gaia now more than ever. I said, no, rather he said that death and chaos are so beautiful. Michael remembered what he said during the massacre. If he could find out about the persona's characteristics, he might be able to find some answer, at least he thought. What if that's the Dark Lord the Guardians were afraid of? That's who I'm gonna be in the future? No, no one controls my fate except me. Michael took a deep breath. An unwavering resolution emerged in his eyes. His feet touched the ground as he cracked his neck. Who am I kidding? That was me, more powerful. He remembered how powerful he felt when slaughtering the guards. Although he felt pity for them, he had to admit that he was frickin' powerful. Even Yanab, a core strengthening stage mage, was so powerless against him. If I could control myself in that form. Michael snickered. My lord, Michi's train of thoughts was interrupted by Azazel's voice. He heard the demon butler's voice coming from the other side of the walls. Come on in, Azazel. The demon butler floated towards him. What is it? As he asked, Michael took a new set of black long coats and turtlenecks from his space ring. He put them on, adjusting the collars and sleeves before turning his gaze back at Azazel. While you were cultivating here, I received a request to meet you from Lady Maxine from the crypt. Apparently, some pirates have been acting strange. Is that so? I think I have to return to the southern continent. Michael willed the system to equip Lucifer armor as well as change his face using the face mask. "My lord, what should I do while you're gone?" Azazel asked with utmost respect. "Clean up the throne hall. It's time I gather my minions and start the world domination. The tournament arc has finally come to an end with this chapter. From the onwards we will venture into the new arc. Yes, I heard your concerns about the spirit child and Michael losing his mind. If you're worried about the novel going in a cliché way, it won't. Michael was not perfect, he was far from being perfect. He would have his ups and downs. The next arc will focus on Gaia and Michael's character building as well as some interesting twists. Chapter 381. Inside the Fire Realm, one could see a hot gooey lava river moving in zigzags. If one wasn't careful and greedy, they would mistake the lava river for a river of gold. Through the bubbling lava river, a boat was slowly moving. A girl who had a three-headed pet on her lap sat on the opposite side of the young man who was rowing the boat. Obviously, it was Gaia, Vidora, and Noah on the boat, as no one else would be crazy enough to choose this route instead of a safer and longer road. "Are you absolutely sure there are no fishes in the river?" Iag asked, giving Gaia a puppy look. She instead just rolled her eyes. "You just ate the last of my cookies." Rather than minding Gaia and the Hydra's quarrel, which was going on for days, Noah focused on the surroundings. There was nothing else except for desolate land as far as he could see. Few boulders here and there, and that's it. The sky was as usual red while the air was filled with ash particles. The red and gray combination gave off an eerie feeling to the Fire Realm. "Fuck, how long it has been since we came here?" Iag asked. 94 days to be exact. A glimmer of sadness emerged in Gaia's eyes. She looked at the distant horizon, thinking about Ghost and Nightmare. She missed the two of them like crazy. Noah could see the sadness in her eyes. In fact, he felt happy for Ghost to find a girl who loves him like Gaia. Although she killed innocents and committed many crimes, Noah didn't want the two of them to be separated because of him. He believed in second chances. This was Gaia's second chance. They had been in the river for 5 days. Unlike Gaia believed, there were indeed fishes in the river along with dangerous beasts. If it wasn't for the solution Noah applied on the boat, they would have been inside some beast's belly. The solution was provided to him by the Alpha Guardian of Hunter Guardians herself. After rowing for another 5 continuous days, Noah's hands started to ache. Fortunately, Noah turned back to see a couple of burned trees appear in his sight. "Hey," Noah called out to Gaia to bring her back to reality. "That's the entrance." Gaia followed his gaze to see 2 lone trees that had no leaves whatsoever. Even the lightning-struck trees wouldn't look as black and lifeless as those 2 trees. "We can beach the boat there," Gaia pointed at the ash shore. Noah nodded before rowing the boat towards the shore. After beaching the copper boat, Gaia placed Vidora inside her satchel safely. They didn't rush but cautiously walked towards the lone trees. "That's the spot," Noah said. Vidora craned their necks out to look at the spot Noah pointed at. However, they could only see 2 ordinary trees and they didn't find anything unusual. "What the hell are you talking about?" "There's nothing but burned trees there," Iag said. "Weird," Kane mumbled. He was suspicious of the 2 lone trees, they seemed out of place. "Try to sense the energy fluctuations, brat." "There's a natural formation between the trees," Gaia flicked the head of Iag. What the heck is a natural formation?" "It's kind of an illusion array but very different from those made by humans. A natural formation is formed by nature after gathering condensed arch energy for thousands of years. It's a miraculous process and many know very little about it. Anyone can easily be trapped by it if they don't pay enough attention," Noah explained. His explanation made Iag frown deeper. "If it's a fucking illusion array, why are you 2 crazy heads heading towards it instead of running away from it?" "I said it's a kind of illusion array. Natural formations also act as a portal to travel around the Fire Realm." "Oh, then we are gonna finally get the fuck out of this place. Let's go." Iag changed her opinion lightning quick. She now looked excited to go between the 2 trees, unlike a few seconds ago. Noah too couldn't help but sigh in relief, as if he had just seen a light carrying hope. There were many invisible natural defense mechanisms and formations existing within the depths of Fire Realm, and they came to this lava river because of a natural formation. If they could find another natural formation, they would have a chance at the river. After all, the solution couldn't fend off the beast forever. When or if they came out of the river, they were good as dead. "Let's go." Swoosh. Both Gaia and Noah immediately dashed towards the space between the 2 trees. The aura of the natural defense mechanism in this valley was pretty obvious. Even Iag could sense it as they approached. Its aura was much more powerful compared to the formations they happened to stumble upon. When the 3 of them went through the space between the trees, they disappeared from the desolate valley. The scene in front of them changed dramatically once again. It was a plain gray world in front of them. The eerie and chilly energies within were so much stronger compared to the desolate value they just came from. A stinking smell filled up the air within the place, extremely unpleasant and pungent. Besides this, black whirlwinds appeared all over the place, and the air blowing across the place was cutting them to the marrow. It also carried a strong corrosive characteristic. "Congratulations, we escaped from the frying pan into the fire," Ayag couldn't help but curse. "Be careful, there is poisonous vapor all over the place." A deadly toxic gas merged with the freezing vapor, causing this poisonous vapor to be formed. "It's a deadly thing that can kill any cultivator," Noah reminded. "Is that so?" Gaia snickered as she walked towards one of the black whirlwinds. "Bitch, stop, are you trying to kill us?" Ayag screamed, trying to stop Gaia from walking towards the poison whirlwinds. Gay reached out to touch the whirlwind. Noah was stunned to see nothing really happen to her. Although Nagas were resistant to most poisons, they were not immune to the poison whirlwinds of Fire Realm. However, nothing happened to Gaia when she touched the poison whirlwind. It should have entered through the finger to her brain and killed her in a few seconds. Since that never happened, there was only one explanation for this. That was Ghost made her immune to the poisons using some legendary potions. Noah heard about potions that could be brewed by 5-star alchemists to make someone completely resistant to the poisons known to man. Huh. Ayag opened her eyes to see nothing had happened to her like she was expecting. As Gaia was looking smug and feeling proud of Ghost for making them both poison-resistant, Noah walked towards them with a calm smile. When he came closer to the black whirlwind, Noah unleashed a blue barrier of flame, covering his entire body. The layer of blue flame covered his body as though it was a blanket. It was a barrier formed by one of the two primordial flames, Heaven's Flame, which repelled all poison known to mankind. Gaia was stunned by the blue flame. She had never seen such a majestic flame ever before in her life. She heard Ghost talk about primordial flames and she could guess that the blue flame on Noah's body was definitely one of the two primordial flames. However, she did not let what was in her mind show on her face. Although she could tell Noah wouldn't easily tell her where he got the flame if she could find out, it would get Ghost one step closer to reaching 6-star alchemist status. This place should be an isolated space and it doesn't look big. "We just need to find the path to the 5-headed serpent's lair," Noah said. He could feel that they were getting closer to the 5-headed serpent. This place was fully filled with toxic vapor and could be considered a natural land of death. It would be really bad luck if anyone ordinary accidentally came to this space. He was covered by a fire barrier while Gaia just walked next to him like it was nothing. The duo began slowly walking forward. Since the toxicity in the air was too strong, there were no beasts or bandits anywhere nearby. The entire space was extremely quiet, and nothing could be heard except for the tornado's swishing sounds. It gave the space an eerie feeling as if they had actually come to the real hell. Crack. Suddenly, a cracking sound could be heard from underneath Gaia's foot. It sounded really loud when in this quiet environment. Fuck. What was that? Ayag cursed as she was spooked by the sound. They lowered their heads, looking at the ground. Then they saw an entire skeleton lying where Gaia had just stepped. Her foot caused a hole to appear on the skeleton's chest. "This is a skeleton of a soul-strengthening stage warrior. He must have been dead for a long time. Look, all the bone has become porous, you've shattered it." Noah had eagle eyes. Although the skeleton was badly corroded by the poisonous air and had turned completely black, he still found that this was a core-strengthening stage warrior skeleton. "This place sucks. A core-strengthening stage warrior could still survive for quite some time in this space without any poison resistance, using arch energy to shield his or her body. The only explanation for his death would be that he depleted all his arch energy in order to resist the poisonous air. He was killed by the poisonous air once he couldn't repel the deadly poison any longer. Why did he come here anyway?" Gaia wondered why the cultivator came to the Fire Realm. Noah and she were here to hunt down the 5-headed serpent so Noah could save Zanala's stepfather, while she was here to absorb the blood and start her metamorphosis. If it wasn't for the 5-headed serpent, Gaia would have never even thought of coming here. "What next?" Sarba asked after looking around the place. "Move forward until we find the 5-headed serpent's trail," Noah smiled. With a determined look in his eyes, he said, "Just keep moving forward until we find the 5-headed serpent's trail." The following journey was completely eventless. They kept bumping into new skeletons along their way, and all these skeletons were once core-strengthening stage warriors. Gaia really wondered why this many core-strengthening stage warriors ventured into the Fire Realm. She even stumbled upon a skeleton of a soul-refining stage warrior. This meant they were looking for something here. The duo had walked for nearly an hour, and they kept bumping into more and more skeletons. The place seemed really desolate. After spending almost 2 hours of walking, they suddenly saw a light blinking in the distance. "Look, there is light blinking in front." Ag informed them. She almost shouted. "Let's go check it out." Noah saw the light as well. Although the rainbow color light seemed faded, it couldn't escape their eyes. The duo immediately dashed forward and soon they arrived at the source of the light. A human Iag's eyes lit up as she saw a man with disheveled hair was sitting with both legs crossed, not moving at all, which made him look like a stone statue. But the weak aura emitting from his body showed that this old man was still alive. Chapter 382. Both Gaia and Noah slowly approached the old man. As if he had heard something, the old man finally raised his head up, slowly. With cloudy eyes he looked at them. Vidora quickly went inside the satchel to hide. An old man, a really old man who was long past his prime. The robe covering his body was really loose, he had wrinkled skin on his face and an extremely thin body. He looked just like a skeleton who had nothing but skin. Pretty horrifying as he looked like a mummy. The old man's aura was really weak as if he was going to die at any time. And yet he was still alive. Sigh. Someone is here again. Someone is going to die soon, sign. The old man let out 2 sighs. His voice was shrill, making it unpleasant to listen to. It looked like he had gotten used to the deaths happening here. A soul-refining stage warrior, Noah looked closer at the old man. He immediately found out the cultivation level of the old man. But because the vital signs of the old man were really weak, and there was no celestial energy that could be sensed in his body, as it had been completely depleted, he couldn't determine which level this old man was. Such young sprouts. Too bad you've come to this land of death. The old man let out another sigh, then he just flicked his wrist as a golden barrier appeared around them. It's been 20 years, all who came here before me have gone. Now I'm soon going to leave as well. For 20 years I had no one to talk to. At least heavens granted me with my last wish. Pity the last person you're gonna meet is this old man. The old man carried a smile on his face. The despair and anger he had when he first arrived at this place was long gone. He had seen through life and death. The old man seemed calm, no signs of grievance could be found on his face. However, from his pair of cloudy eyes, one could still tell that he is grieving. If this old man leaves this place, his cultivation will take a long dip before rising back again, Noah thought to himself. After breaking through to the soul-refining stage, a cultivator required a constant supply of celestial energy to achieve higher levels in cultivation. If the cultivator didn't get enough celestial energy, his cultivation will gradually decline. Considering this old man was stuck here without celestial energy, when or if he escaped the fire reel, his cultivation would drop down to lower stages before returning to his previous state. Shit, you stayed here for 20 years. I hope what you were searching for in Fire Realm is worth it. Gaia rolled her eyes. Being able to stay alive in this harsh environment, you must have been at the peak of soul refining stage, old man. If I am right, you must have come looking for something that could help you deal with your bottleneck and reach fusion stage. After 20 years in this environment, the bottleneck has gone but you got stuck here, Noah said with an indifferent tone. Those skeletons belong to the people who came to see what happened to you. Hearing this, the old man's cloudy eyes suddenly light up. He stared at Noah with a look of disbelief. He couldn't help but start examining the young man in front of him. Being able to discover he had a bottleneck with a single look, and also judging his real cultivation level just from knowing how long he had been here was not someone anyone could do, that's why this old man couldn't help being shocked. Besides, he found out that the men who died here came searching for him. What a keen eye, but too bad, the old man kept shaking his head, his eyes filled with deep regret. He could easily tell that Noah was extraordinary and had innate potential. A genius like this was supposed to become a well-known guy in the world. But now he had to die in this shit place. What a pity. Gaia was looking around the place to find a way to deal with the golden barrier while the old man was talking to Noah. 20 years ago, I traveled alone to Fire Realm searching for something that could help me reach fusion stage. My damn luck and fate, I accidentally stepped into this place and activated the barrier set up by someone, and it has been 20 years since then. The old man said in a self-mocking manner. He didn't look at Noah as if he was just talking to himself. But at the same time, it seemed he rather enjoyed the feeling of talking. It seemed like he hadn't talked to anyone for quite a long time. If he could go back in time, he would stop himself from venturing into the Fire Realm. By estimations, my death will arrive tomorrow. But I don't want to be like all the other people who died here, having my body corroded by the poison. That's too tragic. Young man, once I die tomorrow, burn my body. This was the last request from an old man who had gone past his prime. The old man looked at Noah, focusing on the flames dancing around his body. Gaia didn't give a shit about the old man's tragedy. She was busy searching for a way out of here. Noah inwardly sighed. The man didn't ask Noah to help him accomplish any weird unfulfilled desire at the last moment of his life, and neither did he have any special orders for Noah. He only requested that Noah burn his body and allow him to have a proper death. Noah, however, just calmly smiled at the old man. Old man, your estimation is really accurate. If I didn't come, you'd be dead by tomorrow. But the Lady Luck smiled on you. I'm here. Noah walked toward the old man, then he waved his hand and unleashed a flame. The dancing flame shot out from Noah's body, took the shape of an angel, a humanoid figure with feathery wings. It transformed into a flame barrier and covered the old man within. In an instant, all the surrounding poisonous vapor was pushed away, as if it had just met its natural enemy. Noah had decided to save this old man, not for any specific reason, but because this old man had been persistently staying alive in this place for 20 years. Noah really respected his endurance. Besides, Noah never ignored anyone in need of help. What a majestic flame, it actually carries a divine aura. Even the poisonous vapor from the fire realm doesn't dare try to corrode it. The old man's eyes opened as wide as they could. After a short shocking moment, the old man returned to his calm state. He looked at the fire barrier covering his body, and with a smile on his face he said, "Young man, put away this flame barrier, it will only consume your energy and focus. You can't hold it for a long time. The poisonous vapor has already invaded my body, I'm dying. You can only lessen the pain but can't stop the inevitable. If you wanted to die, you could have ended your life a long time ago. You hope to leave this place. Don't lose hope now. Let me help you get rid of all the poisonous miasma in your body." After saying that, Noah placed his palm on the old man's chest. The moment Noah placed his hand on the old man's body swayed a little. He stared at Noah's palm with no idea what Noah was going to do next. He knew very well about his current condition, and it was impossible to get rid of the poison that had invaded his body. The old man, who had been tense for the last 20 years, had finally loosened up completely at this moment. He saw the confidence in Noah's eyes, and it made him feel calm as well as hopeful yet again. Noah unleashed the poison-absorbing skill he learned from Andreas, his mentor. Heaven's flames seeped through the old man's body. Sending a primordial flame into someone else's body was extremely dangerous. One misstep and the flame would burn the body into ashes. Yet this old man had no fear because, with his current condition, there was nothing that could scare him. After all, he was soon going to die. Besides, if Noah really was up to something bad, he could just kill the old man with a palm strike. There was no need to go through so much hassle. Heaven's flames circulated an entire round within the old man's body. After that, it returned to Noah's body. It only took Noah a few minutes before he had completed the healing process. Finally, he removed his palm from the old man's chest. The old man violently trembled, and in an instant, he threw up a mouthful of black blood and began violently coughing. The old man coughed for some time before he returned to normal. Then he immediately raised his head to look at Noah, who was calmly smiling at him. The old man checked his Bodhi's condition, and he instantly found out that all the poison that had been corroding his body for the last 20 years had disappeared. His internal organs that had completely lost their vital signs were actually pumping with an extremely active force now. More importantly, since all the poison was gone, the old man felt extremely relaxed and comfortable, as if someone had just lifted a gigantic mountain that had been weighing down on him for the last 2 decades. "Am healed," the old man closed his eyes. He really enjoyed this moment. It was a feeling he hadn't felt for so many years. 20 years, day by day, year by year, he had been suffering from constant pain. For ordinary people, suffering such severe pain for 20 years would definitely make that person crazy. The old man did go crazy before, but in the end he had seen through life and death. Now Noah had restored his hope of living. The old man was immersed in the pleasant moment, and Noah didn't disturb him. He had absorbed all the poison in the old man's body into his own body. After some time, the old man finally opened up his eyes. He looked at Noah and said, "Young man, you really absorbed all the poison in my body into yours. That's really dangerous. Yet the poison hasn't affected you. How is it possible? Were you really a guardian?" Noah replied with a smile. The old man was stunned, but when he thought about it, everything made sense. Who in the world other than a guardian would venture into a place like this and help a stranger? Guardian? "Young man, you've saved my life today." For the first time in many years, the old man bent his back to bow towards Noah. "What were you searching for here?" Before the old man could start rumbling about gratitude and a way to pay him back, Noah asked him. The five-headed serpent. The moment the old man spoke these words, Gaia immediately turned back. She dashed forward. Did you find it? Where is the lair? Tell me. Sigh, the old man sighed. He could tell by seeing the look on her face that they came looking for the five-headed serpent too, just like him 20 years ago. A Naga killed the serpent and absorbed everything except this. As Gaia's heart skipped a beat, the old man flicked his wrist. A charcoaled gray stone-like thing appeared in his hand. Noah and Gaia looked closer at the thing to sense pulses coming from within. The heart, Noah mumbled. Suddenly Gaia grabbed the old man by his neck and lifted him up. Who killed the serpent? Regardless of him being grabbed by his neck by the girl, the old man remained calm. Just as Noah was about to stop Gaia, the old man flicked his wrist again as a gold-plated snake-shaped pendant appeared in his hand. From top to bottom, Gaia felt an electric bolt running through her body. She immediately let the old man go before taking the pendant from his hand. The Naga woman who killed the serpent left this with the heart. Gaia couldn't believe the words coming from the old man's mouth. She was shivering holding the pendant. It seemed like a family heirloom. If I ever get out, I wanted to return this to her kin. Wait. Something's happening. Unexpectedly Noah sensed energy fluctuations around him. It felt like the space around them was getting distorted. It was the same feeling he had when he was teleported into the Alpha Guardian's warship, but much stronger. Boom. In a blink of an eye, a bright light flashed across Noah's eyes, producing a loud booming sound. He couldn't help closing his eyes. When he opened his eyes, Gaia was gone. On a mountain cliff filled with dancing green lush grass fields, Gaia appeared out of nowhere. The setting sun painted the ocean with its golden rays. Gaia looked around, having no idea what just happened. There were nothing but grass fields and a calm ocean as far as she could see. While she was looking around, she felt a breeze brushing past her from behind. She turned back to see an ethereal figure gradually forming before a couple of meters ahead of her in the air. Mother note: the old man will play an important role in the story. Hence the long chapter about the old man and Noah. I didn't want the chapter to be split into two. It has crossed the 2K word limit. I hope you don't feel it draggy. Chapter 383. Gaia's eyes watered as the ethereal figure took the shape of a woman who looked extremely similar to Gaia but more dominant and majestic. Even if the figure was ethereal, her raven-black hair seemed to be fluttered in the air as though they were the wings of an angel. The woman was tall, her perfect structure was covered by metallic black plate armor from her neck to toe. She radiated a fearsome warrior vibe all around her. Her perfect jaw structure would make anyone think that the god themselves sculpted her personally. Regardless of her ethereal form, her green eyes glimmered, reflecting the golden sun rays of the setting sun. Craning their necks out of the satchel, Vidora saw the woman floating a couple of meters away from them. Even Iag was speechless and felt as if she wanted to bow towards the woman. They had never seen such a woman with elegance as the woman before them. In addition to her dominant vibe, she was someone who could be said to be a country-toppling beauty. Even Layla paled in comparison to the woman in terms of beauty and grace. Baby girl. The two words that came out of the woman's mouth sounded like music. Gaia lost all control of her body as she collapsed to the ground on her knees. Tears poured out of her eyes. Oh, mother? Gaia's voice broke in overwhelming pain in her heart. The images of her mother in her mind flashed across her eyes. She couldn't utter any words through the lump in her throat. When her mother died, Gaia was just 3 years old. Still, she had clear memories of her mother playing with her, teaching her to read, teaching her to fight, and showing her how to rule over people. It had been 25 years since she last saw her mother. Gaia wanted to dash towards, hug her mother and never let her go. Baby girl, what did I tell you about crying? Gaia looked up to see the smiling face of her mother. She couldn't help bursting into tears. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't stop the tears from gushing out of her eyes. The pain in her heart exploded into tears. You are Gaia's mother? Iag asked while Gaia was sobbing her heart out. Despite the question, Gaia's woman didn't even take a look at Iag. She is just a soul fragment left behind. She can't see us or hear us. It's a recording, Kane explained to Iag. Baby girl, if you are here, that means that idiot from the Fisher family was still alive. Listen to my Gaia, I don't think how much of this message will remain at the time you're hearing. Gaia saw the gentle smile on her mother's face disappear. Since you are here, that means the prophecy has started already. Listen to me carefully, baby girl. Gaia looked at her mother without batting an eye. You must find the Dark Lord, Gaia. You must find him. Gaia was stunned by her mother's words. The Skyhall spies are everywhere, Gaia. You must find him before they do. They are not what everyone thinks they are. Mother, are you alive? Gaia asked. Despite what she heard from Cain, she still hoped her mother would be alive. As though she had heard Gaia's question, Gaia's mother sighed, "Find the dark elf in the tree, baby girl. He will have answers to your questions and help you find the Dark Lord." The ethereal form of her mother started to flicker as her voice became distorted for a few seconds. "You can find him, Aquilan realm, Skyhall tree." Her voice became more and more distorted as her figure kept flickering. "Dark Lord, only he can save this world. Find him." Whenever Gaia's mother uttered the words Dark Lord, Cain noticed the idolizing look in her eyes. It seemed as though she was worshipping the Dark Lord. He also noticed the vague resemblance of Ghost's choice of black in Gaia's mother's armor. "Salisi, stay away, Skyhall, guardians, your father, puppet." Gaia couldn't make sense out of her words. However, she felt a bolt of electricity running through her spine hearing her mother talk about Salisi. Gaia was stunned to see her mother actually know about Salisi because her father married Salisi after her mother died. She shouldn't know about Salisi, yet she seemed to know about Zanala's mother. "Mother, don't leave me." Again, seeing the ethereal form of her mother flickering and losing its glow, Gaia quickly picked herself up to run towards her. "I love you, my baby girl." Just as the words escaped Gaia's mother's mouth, her ethereal figure disappeared into thin air. Gaia's finger touched the glow before it completely faded away, yet she couldn't stop anything. Gaia remained at the place where her mother was just a few seconds ago. She picked the pendant from the ground and held it so tight in her hands. After a few moments, the tears rolling out of her eyes finally stopped. Gaia whipped off the tears off her face. She stared at the sun setting down into the distant horizon. To others it was sunset. For her, it felt like a new sunrise. The pain and grief transformed into joy because she slowly began to realize that her mother might still be alive. As far as she could remember, her mother died 25 years ago, but clearly her mother was in the fire realm 20 years ago. If she was dead, she wouldn't have met the old man from the Fisher family. There was no explanation except the possibility that her mother might still be alive and she faked her own death for some reason. Otherwise, she wouldn't have known about Salisi. When she thought about everything her mother said, she ended up with more questions than answers. One of the questions was, how the hell did her mother know about Ghost, the Dark Lord? "Let's go." Iag flapped their wings as they ascended to the air from the satchel. With a few more flaps of their tiny wings, they successfully landed on Gaia's shoulders. "I thought our trip to the fire realm was a complete failure, but am glad that I'm in the wrong." Sarba gently rubbed his head on Gaia's face. Even Iag moved her head towards Gaia's face before wiping the tears off her face. The three heads of Vidora hugged Gaia and spent a few moments in silence. Their love gave warmth and much-needed fearlessness to Gaia. "Where are we?" Iag asked while still resting her head on Gaia's cheek. "All I know is we are definitely out of the fire realm," Cain sighed. He felt safe after a long time. He couldn't wait to go back home. "Great. We can finally go home." A gentle smile appeared on her face along with an unwavering remote in her eyes. "I'm coming back home, human. This time, we are going to find my mother together." While Gaia was stuck on the border of the Azer continent, Michael was enjoying the peace and calm of the night sitting on Baron Totonk's throne. He initially planned to teleport back to the crypt to deal with the pirates, but Azazel informed him that the king of Bredia had sent an envoy to deliver him some documents as well as the promised funds. Michael had to return to Bradford and deal with the funds. Fortunately, Elder Sandra, who was responsible for managing the sect's financial side, agreed to manage the financial side of the kingdom too. Hence, he felt relieved because she was really good at finance. If Elder Sandra was born on Earth, she would have made millions or even billions managing funds through her firm. The throne hall reminded him of his biggest mistake to the date since he came to this world. He had lost control of himself. Although it could be viewed as a weakness or potential threat to himself in the future, he saw an opportunity. That mad persona of him was indeed crazy. However, he also felt extremely powerful in that state. If he could somehow control himself in that state, he would be one step closer to ruling this world. As he was thinking about a way to control himself in that state, a golden ball of light appeared out of nowhere in the throne hall. He was stunned as the golden ball of light dashed at him. He almost dashed out of the throne when the golden ball of light stopped before him a couple of meters away from him. Then, the golden ball of light slowly opened to reveal a silver-plated envelope. The envelope was glimmering in the chandelier light. It slowly floated towards Michael. Looking at the envelope, Michael frowned. Carefully, after ordering the system to scan down the letter, Michael reached out to grab the letter floating in front of him. The letter had the name Ghost written in gold with beautiful calligraphy. When he touched the envelope, it opened automatically, revealing the letter inside. "What in the actual fuck is this?" That was the first question that appeared in Ghost's mind after reading the letter. Hi my wonderful readers, I have read all your concern about Michael losing his calmness and change in personality. I can reassure you that this is just a bump in his journey. The story has just started and the real action will begin from the next arc. P.S. The reason for me pasting the author's thoughts in the chapter itself was to get the readers of pirated sites to change their minds and come to WN. Chapter 384. The crypt was as usual dark and gloomy. Gibson didn't even know what time it was as they had no way of looking outside after locking down the crypt door. Gibson took a long deep breath looking at the crew sleeping on the floor completely blackout drunk. Booze was the only thing that kept them from going crazy. Gibson turned his gaze to the crypt's dark corner to see Maxine using Shorty as a dumbbell to train her biceps. She held Shorty by his belt and lifted him up and down. The little guy seemed to be in an awkward position as he avoided looking at Gibson. Noticing Gibson walking towards him, Maxine let go of Shorty. Shorty ran away as fast he could from Gibson. Lady Maxine, did you talk to Lord Lucifer? Gibson asked in a worried tone. It had been almost 3 months since they were teleported into the crypt after the Guardians destroyed the Silent Reaper. Never in his life, Gibson thought the Silent Reaper would be reaped by someone else inside the void line. Lord Lucifer will come here in the morning, Maxine said with a grin on her face. She was excited to see Lord Lucifer after so long. She couldn't wait to help him achieve his goals. She was completely devoted to the cause. If Lord Lucifer asked her of her life, she would give it to him in a blink of an eye. Shit, tomorrow. Lady Maxine, I would have kept them from getting this drunk. He looked at the pirates who were snoring and rolling on the floor. You really think we can stop them from getting drunk? That's the only thing keeping them from killing each other, Maxine chuckled. You are right. Gibson scratched the back of his head as he followed Maxine to the newly placed throne on the north end of the crypt. Like all the thrones of Lucifer, the throne on the crypt also looked similar to the one in the dark forest. Lady Maxine, have you heard anything from Lady Sadie and Tiberius? Gibson asked. Maxine grabbed the white towel hanging from her waist before cleaning the dust off the throne. Then she used the same towel to wipe off the sweat droplets on her face. Gibson was quite used to her reverence towards Lucifer. At first it was creepy, but now it didn't freak him out as much as it used to. Sadie is still with those girls and helping them settle down. I told the two of them to get here before Lord Lucifer comes. Lord Lucifer ordered all of us to gather here. Gibson took a deep breath. He could tell their vacation would come to an end soon. Also, he had a feeling that the real work begins tomorrow morning. Meanwhile, back in Bradford, Michael was holding the acceptance letter to Mazeroth, Academy of the Arcane. He was cracking his knuckle while reading the contents of the letter. What is this place? Why have I never heard the name before? He talked to himself. Although he had never heard the name before, by looking at the quality and the gold plating of the letter, he had a feeling that this place was not only powerful but also wealthy. Your Majesty, as he was deep in thought, Ricky entered the throne hall. What is it, Ricky? Michael asked with a gentle smile to calm Ricky. Ever since Ricky witnessed what happened to the Baron and his soldiers, he was shivering. Michael himself regretted killing Baron and his men. Jane was a spoiled brat, but that didn't mean the Baron deserved to die. He was a father in pain of losing his daughter. Of course, since the Baron dared to attack him for no good reason, Michael would have beaten the crap out of his soldiers and Baron himself, but he would have never killed the Baron. Since there was no use in meddling in the past, Michael never spent his time regretting his actions. Instead, he was thinking about how to solve the third-person problem. He himself hated that persona as it was everything he hated. Killing had never been his first plan. Rather, he preferred making allies and getting stronger in the shadows. Because of the Guardians and their prophecy, they pushed him on the path to be the Dark Lord. Even the Lucifer persona was created by him to get rid of his enemies in the shadows and let someone else take the fall. He had never expected that what he had created was something the prophecy foretold 3,000 years ago. Someone called Lord Information is here. Ricky scratched his head saying the name. Let him in. Ricky was surprised to see the sudden smile that appeared on Ghost's face. It seemed like he was relieved to hear the name. That elf has come in a great time, he thought to himself. Your Majesty, sect leader Claire also is here to see you. Send them both in. Michael was surprised to see Claire in here. He thought she would at least stay away from him for a month or two. After Ricky left the hall, Michael leaned back on his throne, experiencing the feeling of being the ruler. He had never been drunk in his life, but the feeling he was experiencing kind of felt like a drug. A few minutes later, Lord Information, wearing rather plain-looking brown robes, entered the throne hall. He took off the cloak covering his face to reveal the trademark pointy ears. Lord Information held the door open for Claire to enter. Giving a short nod at Lord Information, Claire made her way towards the black cushioned seats Michael placed on the hall. Considering Michael was dealing with guardians and the holy guards, he didn't get enough time to actually decorate the throne hall. If Gaia was here, decorating would have been her task. Since it was not the case, he just placed a few black cushioned sofas as seats for nobles and people who came to see him and put a plain black cloth as banners. Seeing Michael sitting on the throne, Lord Information gave a nod of approval. "Please take a seat, Lord Information." Sect leader Claire, "You two take a seat. You two have met?" Michael asked. "Yes, we have met." It was an honor to meet such a rising star. Lord Information praised Claire as she waved it off wordlessly, telling him not to flatter her too much in front of Ghost. The main reason for the Sunrise sect's rising was none other than Ghost, not her or the elders. However, it was not entirely true. Although Michael brought the much-needed gold and allies to the sect, it was Claire who was leading the sect in the path of success. After all, Michael barely intervened with the sect's business. "Don't sell yourself too short, sect leader Claire. Your impeccable leadership didn't go unnoticed among the big names in Elon, is that so?" Claire let out a gentle smile. Lord Information then turned his gaze towards Michael. "Take a look at this and name your price for telling me all I want to know." Michael sent the letter in his hand floating towards Lord Information. Claire may have not noticed the change in Lord Information's face, but Michael noticed the surprised look in his eyes. It seemed like Lord Information had guessed what the letter was about even without taking a look at it. Hiding the surprise from his face, Lord Information grabbed the letter. Just by looking at the golden lining and paper quality itself indicated to Claire that this letter came from a prestigious organization. Lord Information patiently read the contents inside the letter. "Before we talk about Mazeroth, King Ghost, have you heard about Skyhall?" The mere mention of the name Skyhall sent a chill running through Claire's spine. Skyhall was the most powerful existence in the entire world. Even Guardians or any of the great clans couldn't be compared to Skyhall in terms of power. "Little bit. I heard Guardian Noah's big sister is the Holy Maiden of Skyhall?" "Yes," Lord Information nodded. "This world is basically governed and ruled by the great clans. They are the most dominant existence in the world. The Skyhall can destroy not one but all the great clans in a few days if they wanted. That's how powerful they are." To be honest, Michael was stunned. He was thinking the great clans were the most powerful existences in the world and Skyhall was just another existence like Guardians but never considered as a great clan. However, it seemed like he was wrong. "Why haven't I seen any of the Skyhall members or their bases?" Michael asked as Lord Information just smiled, shaking his head. "It's because Skyhall has no bases in any of the continents. Rather, they have their own realms. This Aquilan realm is one of theirs." Michael couldn't help raising his brows. If they could create realms of their own, there was no doubt in his mind that they are the final boss of this world, not the great clans. Mazeroth is a subsidiary of Skyhall, which makes Mazeroth as the most powerful academy in the world, not Vogarth in the western continent. Lord Information paused for a moment before continuing. "This letter is the only way to get into Mazeroth. They only choose the best of the best and they have chosen you. As far as I know, no one has ever rejected this as this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Are you going to be an exception, King Ghost?" Michael was thinking about rejecting their offer as he had no time or need to go to school. He wasn't a school kid after all. However, after hearing about the Skyhall, Michael changed his mind. The best way to defeat the Guardians and the great clans was to ally himself with someone more powerful. Until now, he never found such an existence that could go on head-to-head with the great clans. Lord Information, Sect Leader Claire, in going back to school. Chapter 385 Lord Information, since it's another realm, what about the time differences? Michael asked Lord Information. Claire seemed worried, realizing Ghost is going to leave them probably for a long time. "Your studies will last for 18 months in the Aquilan realm. The time flows 3 times faster there. So 18 months there would be 6 months here." "Wow, you really live up to your name, Lord Information," Michael chuckled. "I assume you know someone who went to Mazeroth?" he asked. Since Michael needed to know everything he could about Mazeroth and Skyhall, he asked every question that came to his mind. Lord Information might be the handful of few who knew this much information about Mazeroth and Skyhall. Claire seemed clueless about Mazeroth. One couldn't blame Claire as only a handful of people knew about the existence of Mazeroth. "As a matter of fact, I know many. I will tell you 2 names whom you already know. Pill King Gabriel and the wielder of Angel Vina, Lady Layla Alden. Both of them studied in Mazeroth. So you can't stay there after studies?" Michael asked. "As far as I know, you can. Some of them choose to stay in Aquilan while some return here. Why stay there and be just another guy or girl when you can be a king or queen here? Michael could understand. In the Aquilan realm, both Layla and Gabriel would have been another prodigy, but in Elon, they were godlike figures. Every king and noble respects them and treats them with the utmost respect. Unlike Layla, who chose to live on a secluded island filled with poor fishermen, Gabriel was living his life to the fullest. Now, before we get into the payment and stuff, I'm here to call in the favor you owe my client. Of course you are. What do you need? Michael didn't mind Claire being here because he was planning to tell her that it was Alex who put the bounty on his head. Enemy of him was an enemy of the sect. Claire had to know the lengths their enemies would go to end their existence. As a leader, she needed to be more tough and ruthless. Lord Information smiled, seeing that Michael did not go back on his word. He would hate to lose a customer such as him. With a smile on his face, Lord Information continued, "In an hour, King Bredia's men would arrive here to escort you to their treasury as King Bredia promised. My client has something in that treasury that need to be retrieved." "That's it?" Michael was surprised. At the same time, he had a feeling that whatever the item is, it must be really important. He was curious to see what it was. "This is what you have to get from the treasury." Lord Information flicked his wrist as a rolled parchment appeared in his hand. He then sent the parchment flying towards Michael. After getting the parchment, Michael opened up the parchment to see a rather plain-looking black ball inside a glass cube drawn on the parchment. "You are gonna tell me what it is?" "Sorry, King Ghost, it's a need to know." "Okay then. Where do I deliver the item to?" Lord Information flicked his wrist yet again as a golden ring appeared in his hand. "Put the item inside this space ring and it will be delivered to the client directly." As the ring flew closer to him, Michael saw golden runes glimmer on the surface of the ring. The ring resembled the ring in Lord of the Rings. A smile formed on his face thinking about the life he had on Earth. He thought that life was pressure and he would have a breeze in this world. But even with the system, his life here was several times harder than his previous one. After Lord Information left the manor taking his 50,000 gold coins for the information he provided, Claire was left alone with Michael. "Ghost, come here," Claire called out for him in her gentle voice. She looked worried to the point he could see the tears forming up in her eyes. Looking into her eyes, he could vaguely guess what she was going to talk about and why she was worried. Still, Michael took a long breath and made his way towards her. "Sit," Claire tapped the sofa next to her. The moment Michael landed his butt on the sofa, she grabbed his hand with both her hands. She squeezed his hand. "What happened to you that day, Ghost?" "Something is happening to you. And I can see the worry in your eyes. You can hide it from others but not from me." Michael sighed inside hearing her words. There was nothing but pure care and concern in her eyes. "I don't know about you, but you are like a little brother to me. You are family to me. Tell me, how can I help you? I will go to hell and heaven for you." "You have no idea what I am, Claire," Michael thought inside. Helping one person might not change the whole world, but it could change the world for one person. What you did at that time changed my entire life. I will never forget your help. Tears began to roll out of her eyes as she continued. "Whatever is happening to you, there must be a way to fix it. Let me help you for once. Grandpa would know what is happening to you." With a gentle smile, Michael cupped Claire's soft face. He wiped off the tears. "Claire, I will be fine. That's my promise to you." "Are you afraid I would rat you out? That's why you are not telling me what's happening to you?" Claire was not stupid. She saw the sudden darkness that chased away the light when he began to kill the Baron's men. Although she fainted, she heard their screams. "No matter what you are and what you do, I will stand beside you, Ghost." "If you have no one to stand beside you and support you, that means Claire is dead," Michael sighed. She was not the kind of person who could stand beside Lucifer. Looking at her eyes, he could tell she would still be with him even if he told her that he is Lucifer. However, he didn't want her or the sect to be in the Corsair of the Guardians. If one day the Guardians found out that Ghost is Lucifer, he wanted to protect the sect and Claire from the wrath of Guardians. Her words warmed his heart. Claire leaned closer as her forehead touched his. "Claire, nothing will happen to me. We will live our immortal lives as a family since you are my big sister now." Michael chuckled to make her smile. Ever since he came to this world, he did many things and regretted nothing except killing the Baron and his men. That was his only regret, and that was because of the third persona inside him. Seeing the tears in her eyes, he promised himself that he would fix himself before he puts everyone he cares about in danger. Even if there came a day when the Guardians found out that Ghost is Lucifer, he would not let them touch the sect. His trip to the Aquilan realm would make sure of that. "Don't worry too much. They'll be fine," Michael gently head-butted her. Meanwhile, in a spacious room where there was nothing but hundreds of books lying around, a white orb was glowing on a large oak table. The candles lit on the candlestick illuminated the orb to reveal two figures sitting closer to each other. A little dragon the size of a peacock with pure pearl scales staring at the orb without batting an eye. Under the little dragon, an old man in his 60s with a long white beard was leisurely sitting on the chair before the oak table. The windows behind him revealed the massive mountains floating in the sky. His eyes behind the half-moon spectacles showed a tinge of joy and sorrow at the same time. "Dean, you have grown up and you look just like your mother," the old man smiled. The figures in the orb were none other than Michael and Claire. The old man was watching them through the orb. "After everything we did, he still came to this world. Seems you are wrong, Andreas. We cannot avoid the inevitable." His voice sounded extremely calm despite his knowledge about the future of this world. "His powers are starting to show up, aren't they?" The dragon moved his lips as a melodious voice of a girl came out of its mouth. "Unfortunately, yes. What we did 21 years ago has made him stronger. I doubt the Guardians will be able to stop him after a few years. Master, if he is going to become a threat to the entire world, why can't you stop him before it's too late?" The dragon asked. The old man could only sigh. "When Andreas asked me to perform the forbidden spell, I told him, we might be pushing the child towards the path to becoming the Dark Lord. If the Sky Hall listened to me, Dean might have become a normal child under the care and love of his family. If the gods wanted Dean to become the Dark Lord and fight with his own brother, no one can stop the battle from happening. Any interference in his life would make the situation worse for everyone." The old man took a deep breath and turned back to see the majestic view of floating mountains outside. "Is he coming here, Master?" He kept staring at the floating mountains with his hands behind his back. Then after a few moments of being silent, he opened his mouth. "Yes. The moment he reaches Akulun, he will step on the path to become the Dark Lord." Chapter 386, My Lord. After his meeting with Lord Information, Michael came back to his hideout in Dark Forest. The moment he appeared in the dark corridors, Azazel welcomed him with a bow. "Where is Arya?" Michael asked. "In her room with her brothers, my lord," Azazel answered as Michael began to walk towards Arya's room. It was time he healed her brothers and received her undying loyalty. Before he travels to the Akulun realm, he had to tie all the loose ends. One of those loose ends was Arya's brothers. The system required 150,000 badass points to heal them completely. He could now afford the points. He already had a plan for the two brothers. The closer he got to Arya's room, the more he heard a sobbing sound coming from inside the room. Obviously, Arya was as usual crying looking at her brothers. Azazel got used to her behavior. Usually she would go outside to gather information on nobles, kings and place the spycams in places such as Adventurer Guild, noble houses and army barracks to spread the eyes of Lucifer. When she returns to the hideout, she would go to her room, lock the doors and start crying. That was her schedule. No matter how many times Azazel told her not to cry and trust Lord Lucifer, she didn't seem to stop sobbing. "She always cries like this?" Standing in front of the dark door, Michael asked Azazel. Her sobbing sound vanished as she probably heard the footsteps of Lucifer. "Yes, my lord." Michael nodded at Azazel while the demon butler just flicked his wrist as the door creaked open to reveal Arya standing beside her brothers. Blue tubes were running in and out of her brothers' bodies through mouth and chest. The scars had mostly disappeared from their bodies, yet they were in no shape. It was a miracle they survived. According to the system's scan and his understanding, they inserted some kind of potion or substance into their bodies which kept them alive even after they lost organs such as the pancreas and livers. "My lord." When Michael entered the room, Arya quickly wiped the tears off her face and bowed. In her eyes, Michael could see a ray of hope glowing. The hope of saving her brothers. With a nod, Michael moved towards the large bed where the limbless brothers were sleeping peacefully. He placed his hand on their foreheads. "System, it's time for us to heal them." System scanning initiated. Getting vital signs. Initiating healing plans. The system's voice sounded in his head. 150,000 badass points required. The system requires some other items to complete the healing process. The items would cost the host additional 5,000 points. The healing process would last long for a week. The system's voice continued to ring inside his head. "Does the host wish to start the healing process now?" The system asked. Instead of saying yes in his mind, he turned his gaze towards Arya. She was staring at him as her body shivered, expecting him to give her some good news about her brothers. "Do you remember the price to heal your brothers?" Michael asked. She couldn't see his reaction through the skull mask on his face. Taking a long breath, she looked directly into his glowing red eyes. "I do, Lord Lucifer. If you can heal them and give me back my brothers to me, I will gladly give my life to you. I just want to see my brothers again. Your undying loyalty will ensure nothing happens to you or your brothers in the future. I'm giving them life. Michael looked at the two brothers for a second before turning his gaze back at Arya. And I can also take their lives. If you betray me in any way, his cold voice sent a chill running through Arya's spine. Her heart skipped a beat as she nodded in fear. System, start the healing process. He waved his hand after ordering the system. Right at the corner of the room, two 10-feet glass containers filled with sparkling blue water appeared. With another wave, he sent the bodies of the two brothers floating towards the containers. Arya watched her brothers getting submerged into the blue liquid with her body shivering. In a week they will be completely healed. Remember, their souls have been damaged. I can heal their bodies, but only they can heal their souls. Unless they quench the thirst of revenge, their souls won't heal. Michael added the last part so they won't try any shit like forgive and forget. The last thing he wanted was his subordinates to turn peace pigeons. What does it mean, my lord? Arya stuttered. It means they have to seek revenge on whoever was responsible for their state. Souls are magical, complicated things. Make sure you kindle the flame of revenge in their hearts. I will, my lord. I am not planning to let go of those who did this to my brothers. Michael grinned inside to see the murderous look on Arya's face. He was glad to see the fire of revenge blazing hot in her heart. Put this on and meet me at the throne hall. Michael flicked his wrist as a neatly pressed black cloth appeared in his hand. He threw the clothes to Arya, gave her an order and left the room. Although Arya had some questions regarding her brothers, she didn't get the chance to as he left the room before she could ask another question. My lord, are you going to the southern continent? Azazel asked while following Michael back to the throne hall. Yes. I have to deal with the pirates and then, Michael took a deep breath. Azazel couldn't guess the meaning of his sigh. Perhaps he was tired or perhaps he was excited or both. I am going to Mazroth, an academy in Akulun realm. My lord, you are going alone? They want me to bring a familiar. So I'm bringing Nightmare with me. He couldn't help thinking about Hogwarts ever since he received the acceptance letter to Mazroth. Only this time they invited the Dark Lord instead of the boy who survived, Noah. What about Lady Dark Queen, my lord? Who knows where she is and what she's doing? Michael sighed. Since she put the earpiece in her space ring, Michael or the system couldn't track her as the space ring prevented the system from tracking them. Of course, the system was one level higher. It could have tracked Gaia and told Michael that she is now at Azare continent. While I am away, keep spreading the spycams all over the continent. I want you to monitor everything that happens in Elon. Stay away from Noah's home for now. I'm pretty sure that old Smoke would have come up with a way to prevent me from spying on them by now, as you wish, my lord, and give priority to the spycam I placed on Peyton. If she gets anywhere near Noah or his family, destroy the spycam, Michael ordered Azazel. Paying 10,000 points to the system enabled Michael to give control over the spycams to Azazel. He could now monitor, destroy and use the spycam to its fullest potential alone without needing Michael. Monitoring the hundreds of spycam from the hideout was Azazel's main task. Information was wealth and power. Michael had begun to hoard information like crazy. If it wasn't for the bad vibe he got from Lord Information, Michael would have placed a spycam in his office or on him when he came to Baron's Manor. Michael had a feeling that the elf had some kind of countermeasure to prevent others from spying on him. After all, the elf was making millions by selling secret information. He wouldn't be careless or stay without a countermeasure against spies. As they reached the throne hall, Michael saw several undeads cleaning up the hall as though they were professional maids. Michael even slightly chuckled behind his masks, imagining the zombies in maid outfits. He made his way towards the throne and then, leisurely sat on the throne. After a few minutes of waiting in silence, Arya finally appeared wearing the new clothes Michael gave him. The cloth was specially tailor-made for Arya by Michael with several assassin characters in games and movies in mind. The cloth was obviously black and had a cool hood to cover her head. He even gave her a nice cape to cover the throwing daggers, hidden blade on her wrists and blades attached to her legs, waist and hands. The dress seemed to be the child of Assassin's Creed and Blade. He was planning to give all his subordinates cool outfits with benefits. Just he needed a rune master and a blacksmith to forge armors that would give them an edge in battles. The blade work well? Michael asked. With a nod, Arya flicked her wrist as the hidden blade came out of her wrist producing a sling sound. Arya was at body refining stage level 2, she was vulnerable in Elon or any other cultivation continents. The hidden blades wouldn't do much damage to the cultivators, but in the southern continent, she would be a perfect assassin with the blades. Step closer to me. We are going to the southern continent once again. As Arya stepped close to him, Michael willed the system to activate the runic teleporter. A bright light flashed across the hall. In a blink of an eye, Azazel saw Michael and Arya disappear from the hall. Maxine and Gibson were hanging out in the crypt. Currently there were no rooms in the crypt but just a large spacious hall that could hold 100 people easily. Currently the hall was filled with snoring and weird sounds made by the drunk pirates. Their snorting sounds even overcome the grumble noises made by hundreds of undeads outside the crypt. Suddenly a white light flashed across the hall as Maxine and Gibson couldn't help but close their eyes with their hands. When they opened their eyes they felt a chill. Lucifer was sitting on the throne with his glowing red eyes staring at them. "My lord!" Maxine shouted with excitement before immediately falling onto her knees. "My lord!" Gibson also bowed his head and went to his knees. "My lord!" Arya heard another meek voice. She turned her head in the direction of the voice to see Shorty running towards them. Michael was surprised to hear Shorty actually address him as my lord instead of Captain. When he saw the skull mask on his face, Shorty was stunned as a sudden nervousness occupied his heart. "Maxine, Gibson, let's go buy ourselves a new warship. ****, expect Pirates of the Caribbean like sea battle in the upcoming chapters. ****. Chapter 387 World Domination begins. 2-inch swallow this. With a flick of his wrist, he took out 3 tiny blue pills the size of a pearl. It was odorless but shiny. Maxine took the pill without any hesitation while Gibson stared at the pills with a confused face. "Just take it," Maxine growled as Gibson quickly took the pill and swallowed it. Shorty had no idea what the pill would do but he kinda wanted to try it for himself. He kept staring at Michael expecting that he would give him a pill too. "Shorty," Michael called, "you are in charge when we are away. Use this as a last resort and close your mouth and nose after using it." Shorty saw him yet again flick his wrist. This time it wasn't a pill that appeared in his hand but a glass vial. Shorty's hands shivered while taking the vial. He held it close to his chest. "Tell them to be ready, we will leave when we get back," Michael said as Shorty nodded. The very next moment, Shorty saw a bright light flash across his eyes. When Shorty opened his eyes after closing it due to the bright light, he stood in the hall alone. Gibson, Maxine, Arya, and Ghost were nowhere to be found. Shorty stared at the vial in his hand, wondering what it could do. He had no idea it was diluted fear toxin that would scare the crap out of the pirates if it escaped the glass vial. With his inventor skill, he was able to make adjustments to his armor which enabled him to release fear toxin into the air whenever he wanted. However, unlike the vial in Shorty's hands, the fear toxin in his armor was potent to the point it would kill anyone in southern continent in a few minutes while cultivators at or below core formation level would die of heart attack if they breathed in the toxin for more than 5 minutes. "Fuck, where are they? We have been waiting for an hour here." Inside Senator Caius Manor, Tiberius punched the wall, losing his patience. Caius was too focused staring at the map on his table. "Calm down, Tiberius, do you know where H is?" Another sweet gentle voice could be heard in the room. It belonged to none other than Sadie Kaplan. She traveled from newly found Tiberius Kingdom to Giselle with Tiberius to the meeting with Lucifer. It was time she returned to Elon, but to return, she would have to sail by the sea which would take months. Hence, she wanted Lucifer to teleport her to Elon. The last couple of months had been an eye-opener for Sadie. When she was initially assigned to investigate the killings of Lucifer, she thought he was nothing but pure evil. It was rage and helplessness that pushed her to seek out Lucifer when her sisters disappeared. Now she changed her mind about Lucifer. Although he was not exactly what someone would call good, he wasn't as evil as the Guardians claimed him to be. Because of Lucifer, the girls were alive and got a second chance at living. The former slaves settled into Tiberius' place seemed to be really getting along with the girls. They were helping the girls overcome the trauma despite being that they had been through traumas of their own. Asked the senator. He was the one who sent him to the Maven Kingdom. Maven? Sadie asked, bewildered. She was still not quite used to the landscape and the kingdoms of the southern continent. What are the 7 kingdoms again? She asked, hoping to get Caius' attention. If he started talking, she hoped it would calm down Tiberius, who had no patience whatsoever. Her melodious sweet voice was indeed able to take his eyes away from the map. She stood up from her chair and walked towards Caius' table to see the map. Sadie saw a huge piece of land divided into 7 pieces by black lines. The border of the continent had 3 adjacent kingdoms which were surrounded by mountains according to the map. These are the 7 kingdoms, Gisel, Maven, Bralon, Prerid. After pointing the 4 kingdoms on the map, he moved his fingers towards the border where the 3 kingdoms were surrounded by mountains, Kivin, Zoral and Netis. These three kingdoms are known as Trident of Southern Continent because these three are ruled by kings, not senates. Yeah. I heard about the freedom fighters were hiding in the forests of Grey Mountains near Kivin. Tiberius finally stopped punching the walls and came to join them at the table. So what makes you so tense? Sadie asked. Caius sighed as he moved his finger towards Maven. The kingdom was adjacent to Giselle and almost the same size as them. Caius' finger rested on the border of the two kingdoms where Sadie saw a marking of a mountain. The mountain seemed to be right between the two kingdoms. Almost 50% inside Giselle and 50% inside Maven. This Stormvale mountain, what makes that a problem now? Isn't that mountain closed for some bullshit political reasons? Tiberius asked. 2 decades ago, the Senate of each Senate agreed to close the mountain range until both senators come into an agreement of who owns the mountain. This sounds silly to me, no offense. Why not simply share the mountain? Also, what do you guys want with the mountain anyway? Sadie asked as Tiberius also nodded, looking as though he was agreeing with Sadie. Stormvale is not just any mountain. Deep inside there are gold veins. Anyone who owns this mountain will basically become a superpower. Hence, the other senates poked their nose into the matter and brokered a peace talk. Caius rolled his eyes. The other senates brokered the peace talks not to avoid a war but to keep both Giselle and Maven from becoming superpowers. They were only keeping their hands off the mountain because they had no claims on the mountain. If there is an agreement, why are you worried? Let me guess, you received news of Maven preparing to make their move on the mountain? Tiberius said, surprising Caius. That was exactly the truth. Caius had been receiving news of Maven spending a huge chunk of their wealth buying weapons, armors, airships as well as hiring mercenaries. How did you know? Seeing Caius' reaction, Sade could tell Tiberius guessed it correct. Therefore she turned her gaze towards Tiberius and asked, It doesn't take a genius actually. After Lord Lucifer helped out Senator here kill the previous Senate, the seats of the Senates are empty. Although the Senate has been filled with Senator Caius' buddies, it's temporary. The elections are coming. Giselle has to spend most of her resources ensuring the elections would be fair and the kingdom would be in a tense situation. Plus, until the elections are over, the Spartans would take over the leadership. They are great soldiers but shitty leaders. The kingdom will be vulnerable without the Senate to lead. Tiberius snickered as he continued. If they conquered the mountains first, it would be near impossible to take the mountain range back because that's a damn good place to defend. It's a natural forte. Anyone who fights will have an uphill battle in their hands. Also, the Senate will have so many meetings, bickerings, and when they finally get their shit together, Maven would become strong enough to wipe out Giselle from the map. After listening to Tiberius explain, Sadie understood the seriousness of the situation. With the Senate destroyed in a single day, the people of Giselle were tense as it is. They weren't prepared to face a full-scale war. I could send in the Spartans to defend the mountain range until the election finishes, but it will be like sending them to their graves. Besides, I'm having some problems with the new Spartan captain. New? What happened to the old one? Tiberius asked. He was injured during the explosion at the arena. A month ago he died and a new one took his place. Caius sighed. Took his place? Shouldn't it be you who chooses the new captain? Unfortunately, Spartans have their own rules about choosing a new captain. The Senate or the senators can't poke our noses into their matter. I can't fight Maven and the Spartans at the same time. This is giving me a headache on top of the upcoming elections. I hope Lord Lucifer don't get disappointed with you, Senator. Tiberius snickered. He hated all the senators including Caius. All the Senate and the senators sent their forces to shut down the rebellion. Even now, except Giselle, the other 3 Senate-ruled kingdoms were enforcing harsh rules to put out the rebellion and hanging slaves mercilessly. Although Caius helped the rebels take refuge in Tiberius' kingdom and gave protection, Tiberius knew he was doing that because of Lucifer's orders, not out of the goodness in his heart. Tiberius was only thankful to Lucifer, not to anyone else. Don't listen to him, Senator. Tell everything to Lord Lucifer. He might just go there and destroy their asses overnight. Sadie slightly chuckled. Tiberius was surprised as this was the first time he saw this girl chuckle since he met her. She always had a gloomy face. He knew the reason for her sadness. After hearing their story, he came to realize that cultivators aren't better than the nobles in the southern continent. They both seemed evil to the core. Compared to them, Lucifer seemed to be the good guy in Tiberius' eyes. Swoosh. Suddenly, a bright light flashed across the room as the 3 of them quickly shut their eyes close. A few seconds after they opened their eyes to see Lucifer sitting on a throne made of skull and bones behind Senator Caius. Sadie saw Maxine and Gibson standing on each side of the throne. Lord Lucifer, Lord Lucifer, Lord Lucifer. Caius was the first to kneel down, followed by Sadie. Tiberius took a few seconds before finally getting onto his one knee. You seem tense, Caius. Tell me everything. Michael didn't beat around the bushes but directly asked after seeing the dread in Caius' eyes. Lord Lucifer. For a few minutes, Michael just listened to Caius explain the problems Giselle was having since he last saw him. Michael was too focused on the tournament and the Guardians and kinda neglected Giselle. It was not because Giselle wasn't important, but any problem in the southern continent could be fixed by brute force, as Michael was a godlike existence here, especially now after upgrading himself. Maxine, let's buy the warship and take a trip to Maven. As you wish, my lord. We should destroy the Senate as we did here. Maxine grinned evilly as Caius felt a chill running through his spine. Chapter 388. My lord, can I suggest something to you? Maxine asked when Michael was about to leave the room. Michael turned his head to look at her. Go ahead. Instead of buying a warship from Giselle, we should buy one from the pirates' yard. They have more choices. Michael thought about it for a few seconds before turning the other side to look at Gibson. What do you think, Gibson? Lady Maxine is right, Lord Lucifer. Pirates build best warships in the entire southern continent. What Gibson said didn't surprise Michael much. There was an unwritten rule about a kingdom having naval power in the southern continent. If one kingdom began to build its naval power, the 3 pirate captains would wage war against the kingdom and destroy the kingdom before it could become a threat to them. This was how the pirates have been ruling the oceans of the southern continent for hundreds of years. The combined power of the pirate lords was not something to be taken lightly. Some senates wanted to increase their air force by building flying warships, but the pirate lords made an example of them by destroying the kingdom overnight by pillaging and destroying the kingdom. Each kingdom was allowed to have only a small number of warships and airships. The pirates didn't care about soldiers and ground forces, as no matter how many soldiers a kingdom had, without enough warships, they wouldn't be able to touch the pirates in the sea. Since you were a pirate captain served under Corey, I assume you have some contacts in Pirates' Yard. Maxine nodded. Speaking of Corey, who are the other 2 pirate lords? Gibby's Blackmane Jet, Hobson Rum Lover Vance. Michael took a mental note in his head. Previously he heard about the pirate lord Maxine was serving under, Pirate Lord Corey Witchdrachen. Most of the pirates tend to have a nickname between their first and last names. The name varied from something that expressed great feats to great shame. Either way, almost 90% of the pirates had a nickname. Where are they now? Michael asked. Instead of approaching them with hostility, he first wanted to try to make them his allies. Killing them would be as easy as crushing an ant to him, but getting the loyalty of their underlings and dealing with the revolution afterward would become a headache to him. Corey is on her own island, north of Pirates Cove. It's called the Witch Island. Michael listened to her with his head resting on his fist. Caius, you have an airship? Of course he has, Tiberius answered before Caius could open his mouth. Good, then we use that and talk about solving your problem in the ship. Michael closed his eyes behind the mask, willing the system to unequip all the Lucifer armor and equip a brown long coat, white loose shirt, black pants and black boots. The system also equipped the facial mask and changed his real face to make him look like someone else completely. Except for the color of his hair, everything changed, including the length of his hair. His hair instantly became shoulder length as most of the men in the southern continent. Sadie was stunned to see his face without the skull mask. Of course, she knew this wasn't his real face, yet she was stunned to see the face without the mask. He looked rather normal, not like someone who would catch the eyes of a girl instantly, such as Ghost or Noah. Lead the way. As he stood up from the throne made of skulls and bones, the throne vanished into thin air. Caius quickly nodded, stood up, and then began to lead everyone towards his personal airship. How is your kingdom shaping up? While following Caius out of his room towards the airship, Michael asked Tiberius. Instead of addressing it as a village or a town, Michael addressed it as a kingdom. In the future, Tiberius' kingdom would become a huge part of his army to conquer and defend the entire southern continent from the Guardians if they chose to attack. We are still at war with the senates of the other 3 kingdoms, Lord Lucifer. They are still hunting everyone who dares to rebel. The gladiator schools are spending so much fucking gold to prevent anyone from rebelling against their dominus. Caius, after listening to Tiberius without showing any expression on his face, Michael called out Caius as the senator turned back to look at him. Let's walk and talk, Michael said, preventing Caius from halting his steps. Then they began to talk while walking. How long will it take to visit each of the other 3 Senate-ruled kingdoms? Caius could sense the air become chilly. He even slightly shuddered after hearing the question. 5 days if we used full speed. I can spare 5 days to fix Tiberius' problem, Michael shrugged. No one dared to ask how. Even Tiberius remained silent, but he could kinda guess what was about to happen to the senators. To be honest, Tiberius couldn't care less about the corrupted politicians who supported the Spartans and Dominus killing hundreds of slaves all over the continent. After taking the mantle of leading the freedom fight, he cared about every single slave. He made his life purpose to erase the slavery from southern continent. Sometimes even Tiberius would wonder what made him like this. Perhaps the death of Doctorus, or perhaps his muscle sickness, or just anger towards the nobles who enslaved them. What about you, Sadie? The girls, how are they holding up? Sadie sighed. Better than they were 2 months ago. They are still traumatized, but those girls are strong, stronger than me. Her voice stuttered. Of course they are. You were wasting your life in delusion. Welcome to the real world. Gibson was stunned. He was kinda hoping Lucifer would say some calming words to her. Instead, he uttered the words that made Sadie's eyes water up. People like guardians will only care about you as much as they can use you. Their care and considerations end where the benefits stop. Turn the tables, use them before they use you, and throw you away like trash. Although the Silver Moon was on the right track, they still weren't using the Silver Moon girls to their full potential. Silver Moon was basically a huge spy agency with extreme potential to collect information about anyone or anything. They lacked the leadership, gadgets, and tactics to extract information to their full potential. If Michael could place Sadie as the next sect leader of Silver Moon, he would then show her the ropes and receive hundreds of spies. How? Sadie asked. Her voice stuttered. Become the next sect leader, Michael said as though it was a simple matter. He knew Silver Moon is not a sect like Sunrise Sect to change the sect leader just like that. However, with Sadie's loyalty towards him, he could infiltrate the sect and get the sect under his thumb little by little. Eventually they climbed the stairs to the top floor. The Spartans were staring at them but didn't dare to stop and question Senator Caius. After climbing the stairs for a few minutes, Michael finally saw a door blocking their way with 2 Spartans with spears standing on each side of the white door. Senator, Senator, the 2 Spartans stomped the spear on the ground as their version of bowing. Then one Spartan opened the door to reveal a giant airship on the other side. I never flew in a blimp. The airship in front of him reminded him of blimps. It looked exactly like a blimp. The golden paint almost hurt his eyes with its bright color. Several Spartans and guards of Caius were patrolling around the blimp. From the balcony, Michael could see half of the kingdom. The outfit of Arya, the rugged look of Tiberius, the beauty of Sadie immediately attracted the eyes of the soldiers. Especially Sadie, few soldiers stopped patrolling for a moment to just stare at her. Ignoring the soldiers, Michael followed Caius. When they came closer to the blimp, a servant girl wearing a brown maid dress pushed a button as steps came out from the blimp's side. After climbing the stairs, Michael got into the blimp and was quietly stunned by the interior. He felt like he was transported back to Earth as the interior reminded him of the interior of the private jets. The golden chandeliers coupled with glass tables and comfy white sofas made the spacious interior feel cozy. Tiberius' jaw almost dropped seeing everything before him. Unlike Michael or Sadie, he had never seen something so fancy. Michael saw a minibar with a who seemed to be the bartender, a glass round table in the center, probably for Caius to plan something, several silver orbs attached to the ceiling as well as a rack filled with books and parchments. Everyone out, Caius ordered with a domineering voice. The maids and the bartender quickly cleared the area, leaving them alone. Where to, my lord? Caius asked. Rather than taking out the throne and sitting on it, Michael sat on the single-seater sofa beside the window. Get us as close as you can to Pirate's Yard, Caius nodded before walking towards the far end of the blimp. Take your seats, ladies and gentlemen. One by one everyone landed their butts on the sofas. Several moments later, Maxine broke the awkward silence. What's the plan, Lord Lucifer? Gibson was really surprised to see how Maxine could easily talk to Lucifer. Every time Lucifer's eyes land on him, he would feel a shudder in his heart. Nothing much. Just going to take over the 4 Senate-ruled kingdoms within 5 days. The words that came out of his mouth stunned every single one of them, including Maxine. Michael kept cracking his knuckles one by one, looking at the figures of the soldiers gradually becoming smaller and smaller. When he took his gaze away from the window, everyone saw his eyes glow in pure crimson red for a few moments before becoming normal. It had been almost 18 months since he came to this world, and finally, he decided to be on the offensive against the Guardians instead of playing defense. The southern continent would be the first to bow to the Dark Lord and be ruled from the shadows by Michael. We are the Order of Death. Chapter 389. In silence, they flew towards the pirates' yard where the pirates had been building their pirate ships. Considering Michael lost control of his anger, leaving the third persona to come out, he decided to resume meditation. He used to meditate every day when he was on Earth. Now he has started to meditate in this world too. Caius or anyone would guess whether he was sleeping or just enjoying the peace and calm with his eyes closed. Nonetheless, they didn't dare to utter a word to disturb his peace. Through the window, Tiberius saw nothing but an endless ocean. There were several ships including merchant ships, small fishermen boats as well as a man-of-war in the distance. Eventually, after flying for a couple of hours, clusters of little islands and rock formations began to appear in their sight. As they continued to fly, they saw several warships patrolling in formations as a gigantic island with numerous ships docked appeared on the horizon. Boom, boom, boom. Michael's meditation was interrupted by thunderous booming sounds. Everyone except Maxine quickly looked through the window to see the patrolling warships getting into formations and firing their cannons. "Tell your driver to stop the airship. This is as far as we can fly," Maxine calmly said without even looking outside. She just stood behind Michael's seat as though she was his personal guard. Finally, Michael slowly opened his eyes to see everyone looking through the window. He turned his eyes, getting a view of the pirate ships lining up to shoot the airship down if they flew any closer. "Sadie, Tiberius and Caius, stay here. We will go and deal with this." "Really? I always wanted to fight the pirates," Tiberius sighed as Sadie elbowed him gently. "Yes, my lord, I'll go tell the driver to put us down and prepare the boat for you," Michael nodded at Caius. While they were waiting for the pilot to lower the airship, Michael saw more and more pirate ships appear on the horizon. "Quite a welcome," Michael smiled looking at the warships waiting to destroy them. There were at least 50 warships including frigates as well as galleons. "This airship has the crest of Gisel on it, Lord Lucifer. It's unusual for a Senate ship to fly to Pirates' Yard. Pirates tend to follow the fire first and ask questions later policy when it comes to the outsiders." Gibson nodded at Michael while Maxine was explaining. "I am pretty sure those idiots are itching to fire us down as we speak. So we better leave the airship and tell the senator to fly back to a safe distance." With a nod, Michael stood up from his chair. He turned his gaze towards Arya, then at Tiberius. "You two should talk. After all, you have someone in common." Leaving the airship, Michael ended up on a small boat that had only space for 3 people. Michael was sitting on end, Gibson on the other rowing the boat towards the warships while Maxine remained in the middle. Since they were using a rowboat, the pirates didn't shoot them down but waited patiently, letting the rowboat near them. "My lord, shall I introduce myself to them?" Maxine asked Michael. Before joining his ranks, she was an infamous pirate captain named Marina, the Iron Fist. Almost every pirate in the southern continent heard or knew about her because she had sunk hundreds of merchant ships and army warships alike under the order of Pirate Lord Corey. She was a feared pirate captain. It had been 2 months since she had seen her crew. The last time she saw them, she ordered her crew to station at the pirate cover with her ship. She commanded 15 ships but they didn't belong to her. Rather, those ships and crew belonged to Corey. "Go ahead before someone gets trigger-happy," Michael calmly said. Gibson saw no fear in his eyes at all despite being facing 50 warships. He was calm as the sea, no fear or any emotions could be seen on his face. Even with spells, Gibson doubted if he could take on an armada of this size. However, after seeing his calm look, Gibson asked himself the question, is he more powerful than we realize? "Lower your cannons and let us pass through, idiots," Maxine's shout reverberated the sea. A few moments of awkward silence filled the area while Gibson stopped rowing the boat. Suddenly the brigades blocking their path slowly moved aside, forming a path for them to the island. "Good, you idiots still have some brain inside your thick skulls," Maxine yelled again before sitting back on the boat. While rowing through the brigades, Michael looked up at the ships and saw the pirates staring at Maxine with wide eyes. In their eyes he could see fear and respect. The pirates' yard was a giant island that had several shipyards. Everywhere he turned he could see ships being built and repaired. The smell of oil and gunpowder overwhelmed his senses. The sweet sound of a hammer hitting the iron, log sawing and chattering of the pirates offered a rather charming experience to Michael. They were rowing towards the dockyard where several crates were stacked on each other along with several barrels. There were hundreds of pirates running around the shipyard. "Dock the boat here," Maxine told Gibson as he docked the ship with several other fishing boats the same size as their boat. Michael stood up, jumped on the dock with a swift leap. Then he reached out his hand to help Maxine. She was surprised but ended up grabbing his hand to get onto the dock. "Don't mind me." When Gibson was about to reach his hand too, he saw Michael and Maxine turn back to walk away. Fortunately, the water was not too deep. Therefore, he stepped out of the boat, dragged himself through the water, and climbed the few steps to reach the wooden platform. "Lead the way," Michael said to Maxine. Since she seemed to know the layout of the island more than him and Gibson, he let Maxine take the lead while he just followed her behind, looking at the surroundings. The island was not much different than any tropical islands on Earth, but with lots of ships, barrels, drunken pirates fighting each other, and few anchors buried in the sand. As he was following Maxine behind, he saw a lone pirate with a Cuban cigar in his mouth approaching them with a sly smile on his face. On the other hand, he had a bottle of rum. The man had shoulder-length greasy hair that seemed like it did not see the sight of a comb for at least a decade. The scare that ran from his upper left eye to the upper right corner of the mouth gave a ruthless look to him. He flaunted his chiseled chest and six-pack abs while walking towards them. A tattoo of a flying eagle could be seen on his chest along with a dagger. "It isn't the famous Captain Marina herself?" The man took the cigar out of his mouth. "Wow, I wouldn't have recognized you if it wasn't for your face. What happened to you? You've been eating less?" Michael did not react at all as he remained behind Maxine without uttering a word. "Or did you become poor after deserting Pirate Lord Corey's fleet? What the fuck do you care?" Marina snickered. Just by the exchange of these words, Gibson could tell the two of them have some bad blood between them. "I have 100,000 reasons to care." The smile on his face grew wider. "Someone put a bounty on my head, I assume?" Maxine shrugged without a shred of worry. "Aren't you a smart one?" The man put the cigar back in his mouth. "You can try putting your hands on me." Maxine cracked her knuckles as the man just shook his head. "I would love to, especially now you aren't as fat as you were. Luckily for you, Pirate Lord Vance ordered us not to take on the bounty. So if I were you, I will get on that ship of yours." He looked at the rowboat with a mocking smile on his face. "And row as fast as you can away from the continent. Get out of my face. We have a ship to buy." Maxine waved her hands off as though she was shooing him away. And just as she was about to take a step forward, the man burst into laughter. "Buy a ship? Fuck me. You have no idea what's going on, do ya?" Maxine frowned, clenching her fists. She wanted to punch the smug off of his face. "What?" She didn't hide the annoyance in her voice. "No one is selling ships here or anywhere for that matter. Every single ship's being built is going to the Pirate Lord themselves. Since you abandoned your ship, crew and Pirate Lord Corey, you are not getting a new ship, baby, no matter how much you pay." Michael had a weird feeling listening to the man. Also, he was getting annoyed as he wanted to grab the man by his neck, beat the hell out of him and make him spill out what was going on. Some moron king from Azair is sending a war fleet into the Void Line. They might be big assholes on the other side of the Void Line. Since they are coming to our world, we are gonna tear them a new 1-inch. The trio was surprised, including Michael himself. He wondered who dared to cross the Void Line, battle with pirates and hope to win in their own territory. "What king?" Maxine asked. This time, her voice did not show any signs of irritation but curiosity. The man closed his eyes, looking as though he was picking his brain to remember the name. "Masia, Rosia?" "Yeah," he snapped his fingers as he opened his eyes. "Thusia, Kingdom Thusia." The mere mention of the name made Michael clench his fist. His heart began to beat faster and faster. Gibson noticed Lucifer starting to breath faster as well as the clenched fist. "Calm down, Michael." Michael ordered himself in his mind before the other persona took control over his body. If that persona came outside, the entire island would be painted in red with their blood. Fortunately, his extreme control over himself as well as the meditation kept his anger under control. Chapter 390 New Ship I. So the Pirate Lords are going to war with the Cultivation Kingdom. Maxine frowned. They were the morons who suddenly cross the Void Line and sink whatever pirate ship they see. The man let out a puff of smoke as he continued. "Anyways, it doesn't concern you anymore. If I were you, I will get out of the southern continent as soon as possible. You are not me, Xian. But if you don't like being who you are now, I can remodel that ugly face of yours." Maxine cracked her knuckles. The feeling of the Dark Lord standing behind her gave her immense courage to take on not only Xian, a pirate captain under Pirate Lord Vance, but also the Pirate Lords themselves. For the pirates and anyone in the southern continent, the Pirate Lords were not someone they could touch. However, in front of the Dark Lord, they were as weak as a newborn child. With a single spell, Michael could kill the Pirate Lords. "You are not Pirate Captain Marina the Iron Fist anymore, just Marina. You are not worth fighting." Maxine clenched her fist tightly as she looked like she was about to punch him in the face. Gibson decided to take a step back, letting Maxine take care of Xian. However, when she was about to raise her hand, Gibson saw Michael step forward. He put his hand on Maxine's shoulder, calming her down instantly. "Thank you for the information you provided. Have a nice day." Xian creased his brows. He thought the youngster behind Maxine was just a lackey of hers, but seeing how he placed his hand on Maxine's shoulder and calmed her down, he realized that he was not a mere lackey. "Let's go," Michael took the lead. Rather than wasting time with Xian, he walked away from the pirate, taking Maxine and Gibson with him. While walking away from Xian, Michael could feel the pirate's gaze on him. Gibson was baffled. He thought Lucifer was going to mercilessly kill Xian, yet he did not only kill him but also talk to him with respect. He had never seen Lucifer act so modest towards someone else until now. Still, Gibson was not stupid to think Lucifer was afraid of Xian. As far as Gibson was concerned, Xian was lucky not to get himself killed. In silence, Maxine and Gibson walked beside Michael. A few moments later, Maxine opened her mouth, decided not to speak, and closed her mouth. She kept opening and closing her mouth. She wasn't afraid of talking to Michael but was afraid to question him. Michael noticed the way Maxine has been acting. "He's just a small fry, Maxine. Killing him would unnecessarily make us enemies with Vance. He is not worth it," Michael calmly said. "But my lord," Maxine talked quietly, "you can kill the pirate lords within a few seconds. Give me the order and I will take them out." The medallion of Order of Death gave her inhuman strength, to be exact, a strength of a body refining stage level 3 cultivator. In the southern continent where everyone had no cultivation power, she was a superhuman indeed. Nonetheless, Michael had a feeling that Maxine alone wouldn't be able to defeat the pirate lords. If they were so easy to defeat, they wouldn't have been ruling the seas for more than 5 decades. "If I wanted them dead, they would have been dead by now," Michael said. The noises around them prevented anyone other than Gibson and Maxine from hearing the words coming out of Michael's mouth. Killing them would create a power vacuum. Everyone under the 3 would want a piece of the power. Eventually, the struggle for power would create many factions, internal wars. A kingdom like Wuxia would use this opportunity to either destroy the pirates once and for all or take control over them, which would make Wuxians even more powerful than they are right now. Maxine listened to his words in silence. She never thought killing the pirate lords would be a bad thing, but what he said made sense. Also, pirate lords are the ones keeping the kingdoms in the southern continent from building their own armadas of ships. Without them to keep them under control, each kingdom would go crazy with warships. If they build a naval force along with their air force, every kingdom would turn into a threat to us. So we need to make a subtle approach with the pirate lords. While listening to Michael, Maxine led them through the muddy streets towards somewhere. They passed a couple of taverns where they heard loud singing sounds and smelled the overwhelming scent of booze and pirates. "My lord, if I may. Don't be afraid to ask questions and tell me what you think, Maxine. I want to lead lions, not mindless herd of sheeps," he said, seeing Maxine being afraid to question him. She wasn't afraid to talk to him but scared as hell to question him. He preferred his subordinates to be more vocal, using their brain rather than following him blindly. Although Michael was an expert in planning, conquering the world wasn't his forte. To become the Dark Lord, first he had to become a good leader, and any good leader would listen to the people under him. That was one of the differences between a leader and a dictator. "Yes, my lord." Maxine's fear disappeared after hearing him. Gibson also felt somewhat relaxed. "How do you plan to deal with the pirate lords?" "They won't bend their knees, my lord. Those stubborn bastards would rather die than serve someone else." "That's where you are wrong, Maxine. Everyone has a price and a weakness. We just need to exploit one of them. I will show you. After buying the ship, we will deal with Corey." Michael cracked his neck. "Time to undo that bounty on your head." In addition to Corey's decision to put a bounty on Maxine's head, it was her name, Corey Witch Drachen, that made him decide to meet her first. He was curious to see why she was being called Witch. Since Michael encouraged them to be more expressive about their questions, Gibson wanted to ask about Wuxia. When Xian told them about Wuxia, Gibson noticed a change in his calm face. However, before Gibson could ask Michael questioned Maxine. "I assume you are leading us to a place where we can still buy a ship?" Maxine nodded. "A shipbuilder named Welton owes me a favor. Is it enough to disobey the rules set by the pirate lords?" Michael asked. "It is, my lord. If it wasn't for me, he would have been shark shit by now." With a nod, Michael followed Maxine. On his way, Michael saw several frigates, schooners, galleons, and even a man-o'-war being built on the shipyards. Some pirates were ripping apart the hulls, cannons, and masts for spare parts. On the other side of the streets, he noticed several weapon stores as well as forges. Almost all the forges and weapon stores were full. All the blacksmiths seemed to be working on cannons, probably for the upcoming war. "War is always profitable," he mumbled under his breath. Spectre, his mentor, always used to say this. Eventually, after a few minutes of walking through the muddy streets, Michael saw a huge hangar where he saw numerous pirates running around doing various chores such as carrying wooden logs, welding iron, rolling cannons and sawing giant wooden logs. There were 2 frigates inside the hangar. One was being built. It had a glossing hull, new shining brown paint job with several drawings of which seemed to be a kraken, thick brand new sails. The ship seemed to be in the last stage before its first voyage. The other ship which remained beside the ship looked exact opposite. Compared to the ship the pirates were working on, the other one looked like a beggar. It looked ancient with its battered hull, torn sails and half-destroyed figurehead which looked like a crying lady with wings. Nevertheless, the damaged one was bigger in size compared to the brand new one. It could hold more cannons as well as crew members. Any sane person would choose the brand new one, as the other one looked as if it would sink into the sea if being put on the water. The pirates were too busy to notice the trio entering the hangar. Maxine led them towards the far end of the hangar. They were walking between the 2 frigates. Gibson was staring at both the ships. Either of them couldn't be compared to the Silent Reaper in terms of size, power, or anything. The Silent Reaper didn't belong to specifically any class, but many identified it as a war galleon. Thinking about Silent Reaper, Gibson sighed. The ship was stinky, nasty, and filthy, yet it was his home for the last 2 decades. Overnight, the Guardians destroyed it into bits and pieces. Even Gibson, who respected the great clans, wanted to destroy the airship that destroyed the Silent Reaper. Since they were here to buy a ship, Gibson began to look at the brand new ship as he completely ignored the old one on the left side. Michael on the other hand was looking at the ancient-looking ship. It kinda reminded him of the Black Pearl. He ran his fingers on the tattered hull with a smile. Usually, in the novels he read, the ignored or rather normal-looking things would end up as the ancient things that hold unlimited potential. When the main character finds the item, he or she would see the OP-ness of the item. It would serve the main character in the future after restoring it to its former glory. Yet this ship was neither OP nor an accent power. Rather, it was just a damaged frigate. If Michael wasn't an inventor, he would have obviously gone with the brand new one. Since he was an inventor, he was able to identify which ship could be upgraded easily. The brand new ship could be upgraded, but not as much as the old one. Every single component of the old ship could be upgraded, unlike the brand new one. It's time to put my inventor skill into more use. Chapter 391. Michael was not in a rush to meet Welton. He was patiently looking at all the nooks and crannies in the ship. The ship seemed to be armed with 42 12-pound cannons, 24 on the gun deck and 18 on the upper deck. At the moment, there were only holes in the place where the cannons should have been. Obviously, the pirates ripped her apart for parts and only kept the ship for some sentimental value or something. Gibson was too focused on the brand new ship. He was almost certain that they were going to buy this ship. Hence, he didn't notice Michael studying the old ship without even giving a look at the brand new ship. As Michael was counting the cannons, they came to the back of the ship. When they turned the corner around the ship's backside, they saw a group of 3 pirates discussing something. When the pirates noticed the trio approaching, they quit talking. One of the 3 pirates opened his eyes wide the moment he saw Maxine. Nothing special about the man. He was neither too tall nor too short, medium built, wore a white loose shirt that was soiled with oil, dirt, and grease which turned the white into a brown. Looking at Maxine, he scratched his stubble brown beard with a solemn expression. The tension was visible to the naked eyes on the man's face. Welton, Maxine put a phony smile on her while greeting him with a wave. "What the heck are you doing here?" Welton asked in a husky voice. "Nice to see you too." Maxine rolled her eyes as Welton quickly rushed towards the other side of the old ship to hide from the others. When they disappeared behind the old ship, Welton began to talk. "Get out of here, Marina, you already fucked me up by coming here." Welton didn't even look at Michael or Gibson. He seemed more focused on chasing them away. "I'm here to call in the favor, Welton. I need a ship and you're gonna provide us 1 inch." The moment Welton heard her, Gibson could see him literally shudder. "You crazy? No. I can't give you a fucking ship. They will hang me alive. Don't you know what the fuck is going on here? All the ships are going to the pirate lord themselves. If they knew I sold a ship to you of all people, a deserter, they will skin me alive." He was frantically shaking his head. "What about this one?" Suddenly Maxine and Gibson saw Michael stepping up into the conversation. "Huh?" Welton was confused for a few moments. Gibson couldn't believe Lucifer was looking at the old ship instead of the new one. "You owe her your life, but since you can't give us a new ship which would make you lose your life, why don't you fix her up real quick and give her instead?" Although Gibson had way too many questions, including why the heck does he want the old ship which looked as though it would sink into the sea the moment being put on the water, he chose not to question him in front of Welton. Gibson was sure that Lucifer would kill him if he questioned him in front of Welton. Who the fuck are you? Doesn't matter. You have 100,000 bounty on your head. Although no one would touch you on this island thanks to Pirate Lord Vance. If anyone had seen me with you the moment I step outside this island, I am dead, Welton said looking around. What about you repairing the ship for us to escape to the southern continent and we will give you 100,000 gold coins for your risk? Whoa, don't fuck with me, Welton was taken aback by surprise. He literally took a step back after hearing the offer. Then the realization hit as he snickered. You take me for a fool? You will give me 100,000 gold coins for this piece of crap. One-time deal, take it or leave it. Welton gawked at Michael in disbelief before turning his gaze towards Maxine. You have my word, Welton. Do this and we will never meet again. For a few moments, Welton just rubbed his beard, pretending to ponder. Michael was not stupid to think he was actually thinking of whether to take the deal or not. Obviously, Welton decided to take the deal. Who in the right mind would refuse such a deal? Looks like this is my lucky day, Welton chuckled inside. Gibson and Maxine were oblivious to the evil plot Welton just hatched in his mind. Come back with what you promised in a few hours, the old Bertha will be ready to set sail then. But remember, she won't be battle ready, she will only get you out of here if you don't meet any pirates on your way. Welton looked at Michael rather than Maxine. He could tell the youngster was the one calling the shots regardless of standing behind Maxine. That's enough, Michael nodded. Paint her black. I can do that. For the first time since they met him, Welton grinned. He was too excited to become rich. Of course, Welton knew there was a possibility of them lying about giving him 100,000 gold for the old Bertha, but it didn't matter. If they wanted to get out of the southern continent, getting a ship was the only way. And no one on the island would give them a ship except him. We will come back in 2 hours. I assume she will be ready by then, Michael asked. Yes. Welton nodded excitedly. There was no need for them to know that Bertha's keel was split, as any moment the whole ship could fall to pieces. He would just need to fix the keel enough to get them off the island. Few logs would do the trick, he thought. I will be back. Michael turned back, making his way towards the outside. When no one was around, he quickly flicked his wrist as a notebook and a quill appeared in his hand. My lord, why did you choose this ship? Gibson couldn't hold the question in his mind any longer. She looks like if we put her in the water, she would sink any moment, Gibson said, sounding as if he was pleading not to buy the old one. I'm sure Lord Lucifer has seen something in that ship that we didn't. In simple terms, both ships are upgradable, but the new one is not as upgradable as the old one. Gibson had no freaking idea of what he was talking about. System. So the price of becoming a blacksmith is still 700,000 badass points? Yes, Michael sighed. Alchemy was great, it had helped him in a lot of ways. Yet it couldn't be compared to forging. The advantages of being a blacksmith outweighed the advantages of being an alchemist. Coupled with his inventor specialization, he could do so many things. The only obstacle that prevented him from becoming a blacksmith was the price. To become a 1-star blacksmith, he would have to pay 700,000 badass points. This was why Michael considered recruiting a blacksmith subordinate and making him or her 5-star blacksmith, because the cost of making a subordinate 5-star blacksmith was 1.2 million badass points according to the system. Compared to becoming a blacksmith himself, it was cost-effective to recruit someone and make him or her a 5-star blacksmith. System, you said it's 60,000 badass points to upgrade inventor skill to the 4-star, right? Does the system wish to upgrade? Let me see the benefits first. Star 1, the host will be able to build basic tools and day-to-day items. Star 2, the host will be able to build basic gadgets such as night vision goggles, lasers, etc. Star 3, the host will be able to build complex gadgets such as eavesdropping bugs, micro cameras, trackers, etc. Current level. Star 4, the host will be able to build new and antique firearms such as crossbows, mini crossbows, limited shots revolver, cannons, etc. Star 5, the host will be able to build various types of new gadgets and weapons. The host is required to either have a 5-star blacksmith or become a 5-star blacksmith to unlock the Star 6 inventor trait. Cannons, that's just the thing I want now. System, upgrade it to the next level. Wonderful. Immediately the next moment, Michael felt a sharp pain in his brain. It wasn't enough to halt his steps but just made him crease his brows. With this upgrade he got 200,000 badass points. What's the cost for the next upgrade? 180,000 badass points only? Shit. Michael wanted to upgrade the skill to 5-star. However, he had a feeling that he would need the badass points when he reached the Aculon realm. Hence, he decided not to upgrade the skill just yet. Guys, let's go shopping. With a grin on his face and a note in his hand, he exited the hangar to go on a shopping spree. A few hours later, Welton was standing in front of old Bertha. The new black paint job didn't exactly make her look brand new, as one could still see the sorry state of the hull and the ship as a whole. Perhaps Welton was too lazy, or he didn't care enough to fix the tiny holes in the hull. He only patched up the giant holes in the hull with wooden planks and nails. Since this was a backdoor deal, Welton didn't keep anyone with him. He sent everyone on a break, so he was alone. Bomb. Bomb. After waiting for a while in excitement, Welton finally saw the three of them enter the hangar. The man beside the youngster and Marina carried a giant chest, which instantly put a smile on Welton's face. "Took you long enough. Let me see the coins." Gibson put the chest on the ground, letting out a heavy breath. Welton did not waste any time, as he immediately opened the chest. The moment he opened the chest, his mouth opened wide, as the chest was filled with glistening gold coins. They reflected the light, making his face look golden. Welton was drooling so much to notice Michael running his fingers through old Bertha's hull. "Diddle diddle." Suddenly Michael's voice drew the attention of the three. Welton looked over his shoulder to see the youngster smiling at him. However, the smile was not a warm, friendly kind, rather, it was cold, devilish, and murderous. Chapter 392. No one had any idea about what those words meant. It seemed like he was chanting something. Gibson felt the air around them become chilly. Moreover, Gibson saw his eyes flicker in crimson red. Gibson and Maxine unconsciously took a step back. Welton noticed the youngster's eyes flickering. He was confused as he saw him get closer and closer. "We are so little." The moment these words came out of his mouth, Gibson saw Lucifer grab Welton by his neck. He lifted him off from the ground, slamming him against old Bertha's hull. Welton struggled to utter a word. "I told you to repair her, not hide 26 pirates inside her to kill us." Maxine and Gibson was stunned. Welton's eyes opened wide in disbelief. "You signed the death warrant for 27 pirates today." Crack. Welton's frantic struggle came to a halt as his neck produced a cracking sound. His eyes were still wide open when he hit the ground. "My lord," Gibson shuddered. "Maxine, get her on the water." "Gibson, go tell those pirates to put everything on the deck." Michael didn't bother telling why he killed Welton. He just gave them an order, flicked his wrist, willing the system to put the gold-filled chest into the system's storage, grabbed Welton's body, and threw it on the deck with a swift jump. Michael landed on Bertha's upper deck. He walked towards the rudder before holding the rudder, which reminded him of Silent Reaper. With a sigh of breath, he turned back to see a barrel on the corner. Conveniently for Michael, when he opened up the barrel, it was empty. "Looks like this is your fancy coffin, buddy," Michael snickered. He then picked up Welton by his collar, putting him inside the barrel. After hiding the body, Michael walked around the upper deck. If it wasn't for his X-ray eyes, he may have not found the pirates hiding in the lower decks. Those visions enabled him to see the armed pirates hiding beneath him. It was obvious Welton was planning to get the bounty amount as a price for the ship, then kill Maxine, get another 100,000 from Corey. Michael was not stupid or generous enough to give him 100,000 gold coins for the old ship. He planned to beat up Welton and then get the ship and go. However, Welton's ambush plan made Michael take his life. As far as Michael was concerned, he could let go of 100 enemies but not a single traitor. His focus now turned towards the hooks attached to the poles. They were holding the ship from sliding through the slop to the ocean. "You are a lucky girl, Bertha," he talked to the ship while making his way to the metal hooks. "I'm going to make you a super OP ship and avenge the Silent Reaper." He removed the first hook from the mainsail pole. He continued to remove hooks while he saw several pirates entering the hangar carrying huge crates. Their biceps were flexing as the frowns on their faces indicated how heavy the crates are. One by one the pirates put down the crates. "My lord, can you throw down that rope attached to the lever?" Gibson shouted from the ground. "Here." With a kick, Michael sent down the roll of ropes to him. The pirates along with Gibson tied the ropes around the crates to lift the crates up. If Michael used arch energy, it would not even take a minute. He could just put the crates inside the space ring, jump onto the deck and retrieve the crates out of the ring. "My lord," suddenly Michael heard Arya's voice in his head through the earpiece. "What is it?" "There are several war frigates surrounding us. Don't move, it'll be there." As he said, he jumped down. "Gibson, give them something and see them outside." Hearing Michael's serious voice, Gibson realized something was amiss. He quickly nodded before giving a pirate a pouch of gold coins. "Share the tip." "Thanks, man." The heaviness of the pouch immediately put a wide grin on the pirates' faces. In addition to the hefty tip, it seemed like they didn't have to put the heavy crates on the top deck, which meant less work for them. "It's done, my lord," Gibson said while Maxine walked towards the crates to help Gibson. Both of them saw Michael wave his hand as the crates disappeared from their sight in an instant. The very next moment he grabbed both of them by the coolers. Ah. Shit. Both Maxine and Gibson cried out aloud when Michael leaped into the air with them. In a second they landed on the upper deck. "Get to the rudder, we are leaving," he said before leaping into the air once again. This time they saw him land on the crow's nest. He did not give a damn about the pirates hiding beneath. They would be thinking they are going to ambush them surprisingly. Rather than worried about war frigates surrounding the Caius airship, he was excited. "Corey, is that you or one of the others?" Michael cracked his neck before clenching his fists. Maxine made quick work on the sails. Since the hooks were off, sails were ready to open and Gibson was at the rudder. Old Bertha just needed a push to slide through the slope. Wind blast, a powerful gust of whirlwind fired out of his hands. The whirlwind of wind blast was so powerful that it shook the entire ship. The creaking noise appeared as well as they felt the ship moving. Creak. The ship purred as it slid forward slowly. The entire ship trembled, the poles and every nook and cranny in the ship let out a gust of dust. "Is that old Bertha? What the fuck? Is that Welton's piece of crap? Shit, run." The ship immediately caused a commotion on the streets when it left the hangar. Someone dashing away from the way while many were pointing out at the ship and speculating. Michael hoped Welton idiot did a better job fixing her than he did with his ambush plan. He still wasn't aware of the main issue of Bertha. A ship's keel was like the spine of a human being. If it was split in half, there was no fixing the ship. With a few plants and metal plates, Welton patched her up temporarily. Fortunately, it was enough for Bertha to stay afloat instead of sinking into the ocean. The sails slowly opened, putting a smile on Maxina's face. Even Michael had a grin on his face. He couldn't help remembering the Silent Reaper. Although the ship was nasty as hell, he missed the ship since it was his first ship. Back to the airship, standing on the crow's nest, Michael ordered Gibson. Now that they were on the ocean, they could see tiny figures of ships on the distant horizon. The crow's nest enabled Michael to see the airship more clearly. There were 5 war frigates surrounding the airship as they slowly sailed towards the airship. Michael leaped down onto the deck without even using the arch energy. He landed comfortably. "My lord, the pirates. In the below decks. Kill them all and bring their bodies to me." At that moment, his eyes completely became crimson red. Michael noticed the change in his eyes. He wasn't using eyes of darkness yet his eyes were turning red without his control. It was a sign of him becoming the Dark Lord he was supposed to be. Michael knew this. He had no problem becoming the Dark Lord. Even before he knew about the prophecy, he was planning to rule the world from the shadows. However, he had problems with people judging him from prophecies and divinations. Unlike what they were thinking, he wasn't planning to destroy the world. Why would he want to destroy the place he plans to rule? As far as he was concerned, if there was one ruler to the entire world, the kingdoms would stay united, no wars, no hunger, and the world would actually be peaceful. Even to this day, Michael had no idea what the Guardians and Skyhall did 21 years ago to him and Diana, his birth mother. He thought he was born on Earth, came to this world because of the system, and got his soul transmigrated into a brass body. He had no idea he was in a rude awakening after reaching the Aculan realm and getting to know more about Skyhall. For a battle-hardened warrior with a medallion that gave inhuman strength and speed, killing 25 pirates was not a difficult task. "Drink this." With a flick of his wrist, Michael retrieved a vial containing a glistening blood-red potion. Maxine did not even ask a single question as she gulped the potion in one go. He was glad to see such loyalty from her. "The potion you just drank will give you speed, strength, and quick reflexes for 30 minutes. Hunt them down." The blood-red potion was called the Berserker Potion. It would temporarily enable the user to achieve a berserker state which would triple the strength, speed, and speed of reflexes. The only drawback of the potion was it could only be used by a body refining stage or anyone under the body refining stage. After sending Maxine down decks, Michael walked towards the rudder stage. When he reached the steps, he just sat on the stairs. "My lord, did you go there?" Some war frigates surrounding the airship. Lucifer's calm face gave Gibson strange confidence. Regardless, he was sailing basically a naked ship towards war frigates. He wasn't afraid at all. Boom. Arga. Kill her. Bitch. Shit. They began to hear cries of agony coming from below decks. Gibson saw no expression on Lucifer's face. He was looking in the airship's direction through the spyglass. The cries of agony continued to sound throughout the ship, but as time passed by, the cries sounded quieter and quieter. Holy fuck. One of the war frigates that surrounded the airship belonged to none other than Xian. He was at the helm when she heard one of his crew members shout, "Captain, you have to see this?" The crew member came running to Xian with the spyglass. What the hell happened to you? Xian frowned, looking at the shivering crew member. Grabbing the spyglass from the crew member, Xian looked at the ship approaching them in the distance. It took Xian a few moments to lock his eyes on the ship. Then he felt a cold chill running through his spine. Shit! Through his spyglass, he witnessed several bleeding men hanging from the sail posts. The sight gave him a chill. It was not because he hadn't seen dead bodies before, those men hanging from the poles, they were his men. Chapter 393. Old Bertha slowly approached the airship. The sun was in the middle of the sky, roasting everything under. Anyone on the sea could feel the ocean breeze getting warmer and warmer to the point it made them sweat under their loose shirts. You gotta be kidding me, Tiberius looked at the approaching ship through the window. He could vaguely see the sorry state of old Bertha. Lucier went to buy a new ship and an old ship was sailing towards them after some time. It didn't take a genius to figure out they bought the old ship. Shit, Tiberius heard Sadie curse from the window next to him. He turned to see her looking through the spyglass. What? Tiberius asked. She was shivering slightly. Hence he was curious. See for yourself, Sadie handed over the spyglass to Tiberius. Closing his one eye, Tiberius placed the spyglass on the other to look through it. The surrounding war frigates looked bigger and clear as well as the old ships sailing towards them. I'll be damned, Tiberius mumbled the moment he saw the bodies hanging from the sail poles. The bodies were still bleeding. Some bodies had their chests caved in, some had shoulders cut off, some had a hole in their head right between the eyes. He moved the spyglass to see Lucifer sitting leisurely on the steps with a calm face. Then he moved a couple of inches up to see Gibson holding the rudder while Maxine moved around the deck, keeping the sails intact. He could vaguely see the blood splatters on her cream-white top. Gotta love that woman. Tiberius could guess who was responsible for the hanging bodies. Whoever they are, they just called in the devil. A cold sweat drop appeared on Sadie's forehead. You believe in that shit? I mean, he's a freak of nature, but I don't think he is a god as Maxine or you people claim him to be. Tiberius rolled his eyes. You're either stupid or ignorant to believe otherwise. Not even an immortal can use cultivation in the southern continent, but he does that. Have you heard of guardians? Sadie asked while he was slightly in shock of her direct approach. Yeah, they are some big potatoes in your part of the world, right? They are one of the most powerful organizations in the world. If they wanted, they could take over the world in a few weeks. Still, they started to piss their pants when he made his mark. I'm telling you, Tiberius, he's not a human. At best, he's a god, at worst, he's the devil, Sadie said. Her voice and face couldn't be any more serious. Either way, we are here because of him. Suddenly they heard another voice. They immediately turned back and saw Arya standing in front of them. Her gratitude towards Lucifer was multiplied by several folds when he agreed to cure her brothers. In a week or so, her brothers would be completely healed. He performed a miracle in her life. She would never forget what he did for her. When my brothers wake up, we are gonna dedicate our lives to his cause and get rid of all those fucking slave traders from this world. Sadie could see the murderous intent in her eyes. Her voice sounded so cold. Big Bertha slowly sailed towards the war frigates surrounding the airship. The cannons on the upper deck were tilted up, aimed at the airship. At this close range, there was no way the airship could escape if the pirates decided to fire at will. That son of a bitch, Maxine came to his side before handing over the spyglass to him. It's Xian. As he was looking at Xian through the spyglass, he heard Maxine's annoyed voice, which also had a tinge of shock. So they are here on Pirate Lord Vancess' orders? Michael asked. No. The other ships, they belong to Corey, my lord. The 8-petal flower symbol on the flags, that's Corey's crest. Gibson slowly sailed towards Xian's ship in the front. Michael calmly waited for their ship to get closer to Xian's. Xian's ship was a war frigate. The ship was almost 60 meters long and seemed to have up to 124 guns. 4 at the bow, 8 at the stern and 56 in each broadside. The sails were dyed in muddy browse just like the hull. Unlike the rest of the ships, Xian had a blood-red shark in the flag. Although Bertha was bigger than any war frigates surrounding the airship, she had zero firepower at the moment. The size of Bertha intimidated some pirates. Of course, she was not as scary as the Silent Reaper, however, she was intimidating with her sheer size and speed. When Bertha sailed adjacent to Xian's ship, Xian along with a couple of other pirates came to Bertha using rope swings. Hello Marina, ship sucks but I dig the decoration. He looked at the bleeding bodies hanging from the sail poles above them. Maxine looked at Michael, asking wordlessly for his permission to talk. He nodded, giving her permission to talk. What's going on? Nothing, Pirate Lord Corey just wants to meet you. There is no just Xian. Cut the crap, this is a fucking fleet. You are taking the airship hostage, and what the hell are you doing here? You don't answer to Corey. I think you are mistaken about the situation here, Marina. We can do this the easy way or the hard way. If I were you, Xian snickered as he looked around the ship. I'd pick the easy way. We will pick the easy way. The Silent Queen talks. Xian laughed when he heard Michael finally talk. He had a feeling that this youngster is the one running the show behind Marina. You made the right choice. Now if you follow us, lead the way, Captain Xian, Michael said with a smile. I like you. The respectful way Michael addressed him put a smile on his face. However, in Gibson's eyes, Xian looked like a sheep calling the wolf with a wide grin on its face. And if you don't mind, we will remove these decorations, Xian asked. It didn't sound like a request but an order. Of course, yet again Michael nodded with a smile. And the airship coming with us? Maxine wanted to leap at Xian, rip his throat off for making too many requests at Lord Lucifer. As you wish. I like you more and more, big fella, Xian laughed out aloud. Michael was 6'3" and almost looked 6'4" with his muscular build. Even with a large shirt and long coat, his muscles were visible. Height was another thing that changed about him. Abras was 6 feet tall, but recently Michael had grown extra 3 inches. Fortunately, the system ensured Michael would grow taller unless he wanted to. Arya, follow us. Xian saw the youngster mumble something under his breath, keeping his hand on the right ear. They will follow us, Captain Xian. Xian pointed his finger at the hanging bodies before jumping back onto his ship. The pirates climbed the poles as though they were human monkeys. In a few short moments they cut down all the bodies from the ropes. As the pirates were lining up the bodies, Gibson followed Xian's ship while the rest of the ships followed Xian's ship. The airship also slowly moved. My lord, what's the plan? Maxine whispered. Just go and have a nice long chat with Pirate Captain Corey. 6 hours had passed in a blink of an eye. In the 6 hours, Michael was inside the captain's cabin meditating. The captain's cabin was a dust-covered, broken mess. There was no table, chair, or anything but only broken wooden plans and empty ale bottles. The place seemed like the go-to place for pirate parties. The room reeked of piss and ale, yet Michael controlled all his senses through meditation. He learned meditation from a Shaolin monk back on Earth when he trained under Spectre. My lord? He could hear the door creak open. He slowly opened his eyes to see Maxine standing by the door. With a nod, Michael stood up. He walked towards the door, feeling the anger within him calming down. When he stepped out of the door, he was welcomed by a colorful island under millions of stars and a full golden moon. There were countless warships lined up before the island. The peculiar feature about the island was the glowing flowers. The scenery looked as though the island was a Christmas tree and the flowers were the decorations. Everywhere he turned, he could see the glowing flowers. Red, blue, orange, golden, silver, green, every color flower could be seen on the island. In addition to the glowing flowers, the island's atmosphere resembled a party. A piece of loud music reverberated the island while the cheers of the pirates were ear-splitting. I love this world, he took in the beautiful sight of the island. A smile appeared on his face after a while. Lead the way, Maxine? As Maxine led the way, he saw Xian and his crew walking in front of them. The airship was still above the same fleet that came to surround the ship earlier. Although Michael seemed to be walking looking at the path before him, he was scanning his surroundings. Thanks to the environmental scanning skill, he didn't have to make a mental map like he used to. For a few minutes, they continued to walk on the wooden platform that led to a huge manor in the center of the island. It was neither a castle nor a fancy manor like Bradford Manor, but it was huge. 3 stories, a balcony where several couples of pirates were making out, lawn filled with drunken pirates singing and dancing, and tiny glowing flowers decorated the entire manor like LED lights. Following Maxine and Xian's group, Michael entered the manor through the main door. From the outside, the manor looked delightful, rustic, and folksy. When he stepped inside, he was welcomed by redwood walls and thick stone beams, as well as a sense of home and the smell of alcohol. It was as charming inside as it is on the outside. Tree logs supported the upper floor and the sconces attached to them. The walls were decorated with vanes, the same glowing flowers that Michael saw outside, and several pot plants. He felt like he had entered a tavern inside a botanical garden. It was clear Corey was a lover of nature. The manor itself was packed with pirates. Several long tables were occupied by separate groups of pirates, all enjoying themselves, but they kept to themselves. The other, smaller tables were also occupied by people who are clearly having a good time. Even most of the stools at the bar were occupied, though nobody seemed to mind more company. Welcome to Witch Island, folks. Xian turned around with a wide grin on his face to welcome them. Chapter 394. When the pirates having drinks saw Maxine, the smiles on their faces completely vanished. At the moment, the joyous mood inside the manor died down. Instead, a gloomy atmosphere took control over the area. Gibson felt uncomfortable seeing the countless death glares at them. Through the glaring pirates they followed Chien behind. At the end of the hall, there were crescent-shaped stairs leading to the upper floors. On his way, Michael noticed the maids and female pirates licking their lips looking at him. The face mask changed his extremely handsome face to some generic normal-looking face. There was nothing special about his facial features. However, his height and muscular build made him stand out in the crowd. All the girls in the hall wanted a piece of him. Even some of the girls sitting on their partners' laps stared at Michael instead of their partners. Ignoring the gazes, Michael followed Chien. The stairs were decorated with the same glowing flowers. The island seemed to have glowing flowers in abundance. Everywhere he turned he could see the flowers. The veins were coiling around the stair edges. Hence he was able to touch the flower. Like most of the flowers, the petals were extremely soft and silky, too soft. He rubbed his fingers together to feel a powdery substance that got attached to his fingers when he touched them. Despite its powdery form, the powder seemed to stick like glue to the skin. He then quickly took a whiff without letting the others notice him. His lips slightly curved upwards a few moments later. Listening to the cheery pirate music, they climbed the stairs. Finally, when they reached the top floor where they saw a couple of pirates staying in front of a redwood door. The door had carvings of various fishes, flowers as well as a huge eye on the center. The guards did not wear any armor. Instead, they had spears in their hands. Also, they looked huge, almost 7 feet with biceps the size of a normal human being's thighs. Any lesser man would be torn to pieces by the guards. Their stature alone freaked out Gibson. Only because he had Lucifer before, Gibson wasn't very afraid of the guards. Approaching the door, Chien nodded as though he was giving a wordless password. The guards slowly opened the door to reveal the room on the other side. The gigantic diamond-shaped chandelier hanging from the ceiling lit the room with its golden light. In the golden light, 2 figures appeared in their sight. The 2 figures were surrounded by nothing but greeneries. The wall was completely layered by green veins and heart-shaped leaves. There wasn't a single spot in the room that wasn't covered by the veins or leaves. In addition to the thick veins and leaves, the emerald green flowers riddled the room. Even the round table between Michael and the group and the 2 figures were covered by the veins. This was the only place Michael saw no glowing flowers. One of the figures on the other side of the table was a woman. At the moment they could only see her back. She had wavy long brown hair in which she had tiny glowing flowers as a decoration. She was 6 foot tall with a slender build. The smell of rustic nature permeated from her as well as the walls around them. When they stepped into the room, the guards shut the doors. The other figure was tied to a chair. She was slowly running her fingers on her face. Michael stepped aside slightly to see the bald man struggling to speak something, but his words were muffled by the cloth around his mouth. Although Michael had no idea about the identity of the man, he knew she was one of the 3 pirate lords, Corey. He still couldn't see her front side. While he was staring at her back, she raised her hand. "So nice of you to return to your former lord, Marina." Her sound sounded sweet and gentle. She slowly turned back to let them see the front of her. The moment she turned around, Gibson was stunned. Her face was completely filled with tattoos. Michael was slightly stunned too, not because her face was buried under tattoos. It was because the tattoos resembled Mayan and Aztec tattoos on the earth. Gibson couldn't tell she was beautiful or not so beautiful before all the tattoos. Corey smiled, revealing her pearl-white row of teeth, looking at Michael's fixed gaze on her. "Like what you see, handsome." She suddenly opened up her brown blouse, revealing her ample bosom. Gibson's jaw almost dropped to the ground. She removed the shirt and threw it on the floor. Just like her face, every inch of her body was decorated with tattoos. However, Michael saw a thin layer of oil on her body. He wasn't surprised though, because he knew why exactly she applied oil on her body. "You know who he is?" She took a step forward, then walked around the tied-up man while running her finger through his face. When she came behind the man, she bent down to kiss the top of his head. "My lover, soon-to-be ex, I suppose." Her hands leisurely moved towards her long gown. With a flick of her wrist, she untied the laces on each side. The long gown slowly fell off, revealing her lower body. Gibson couldn't help swallowing a mouthful of saliva. Right at the moment, Corey had nothing but a tiny piece of cloth covering her womanhood. "Am I ugly, my dear? You didn't think I am when we made love, H.R.?" The man seemed to be trying to scream, but all that escaped his mouth was a muffled cry. Yet again she slowly walked to the front of the man, sat on his lap and licked his cheeks. "Am I ugly, my dear?" she whispered into the man's ears. It was loud enough for everyone to hear. HRGHH. The man frantically struggled against the ropes that tied his arms and legs to the chair. But no matter how hard he shook his body, he couldn't escape. After a few moments of licking the man's cheeks, she stood up. Michael was patiently looking at all the drama with a smile on his face. All of their eyes were fixed on Corey, expecting what she was going to do next. Gibson couldn't help expecting the last piece of cloth to come down, just to see if all of her had been decorated with tattoos. Corey gave the man a flying kiss. She then placed her hand on the man's cheek. Under their gazes, she snapped her fingers. The very next moment, the flames appeared out of nowhere and enveloped the man. HRGHH. The man was on fire literally. His frantic struggle became worse by the second. Everyone was completely in shock except Michael. Although Maxine had seen Corey perform with Chris many times, she was still stunned to see it again. She told Michael about Corey's ability to perform witchcraft. Yet, he had never reacted much except a smile. Gibson was staring at the burning body in a daze. His mind was boggled trying to figure out what just happened. She used magic? Gibson asked himself. Then he looked at Lucifer to see him standing there completely indifferent. The burning smell of skin overpowered the rustic aroma in the room. Who feels like barbecue? Corey chuckled before stomping the ground. The floor beneath him quickly opened up as the burning man dropped into the hole. After burning the man alive, Corey turned to lock her eyes with Maxine. She still had an alluring smile on her face. "You don't scare me, Corey," Maxine calmly said. In terms of making people scared, Corey was nowhere near Lord Lucifer. "Is that so?" Corey licked her lips. Enough of this circus. Finally Michael opened his mouth. Sheehan almost unsheathed his sword when he saw Lucifer pull back one of the chairs. Corey looked at him sitting on the chair without batting an eye. Her alluring smile almost turned cold as Michael put his leg on the table. "I have to say, you put up a good show," he chuckled. Pirate Lord Sheehan tried to step forward but was stopped by the wave of Corey's hand. "A highly flammable spores produced by the glowing flowers," he calmly said. "The gunpowder mixed with a tinge of iron powder under your fingernails. Snap your fingers hard to create a spark." As the smile on Michael's face grew wider, the smile on Corey's face dimmed down. "Everyone walking through the party will basically be bathed in invisible oil." Maxine always wondered why there were no torches inside the manor and the pirates were prohibited to use torches. If everyone were flammable in the manor thanks to the glowing flowers, it made sense not to allow anyone to play with fire. "Then why am I not on fire?" Corey asked. Michael chuckled yet again, looking at her confidence in her voice. "Despite scamming people with her fake witchcraft for years, they might not see the oil on your body, but I can. It prevents you from getting caught on fire in close range." He paused for a moment to Corey realize her scam has been exposed. "The tattoos on your body, your gimmick of being a witch, the decorations." He looked around the room. "You wanted to be a witch when you were little and managed to be a fake one with the help of your scams. I got to hand it to you, fake or not. You built yourself an empire. I respect that." He nodded approvingly. "But do you want to see real magic?" The smile on his face disappeared. Gibson felt a chill hearing his animalistic voice once again. The next moment, the room became dark despite the chandelier light. Corey's eyes opened as wide as they could when she saw the youngster in front of her suddenly change his form. She unconsciously took a step back, seeing the dark smoke around him. His red eyes, the skull mask, the black armor, and his voice, everything made her shiver. The next moment, when Sheehan was still in shock, Corey saw him point his finger towards Sheehan. A bolt of lightning immediately fired out from his hand and struck Sheehan. Boom. Corey was taken aback by the muffled exploding sound. It took her a few seconds to realize the red mist in the air was Sheehan. Chapter 395. Corey's legs were uncontrollably shivering. Her mind was blank. She was unable to understand what just happened. Not a single sound could be heard at the moment except the music sounds coming from downstairs. Her eyes watched him slowly stand up from the chair. She wanted to scream, but not a single word came out of her mouth. Overwhelming shock had completely taken over her mind and body. His every step towards her made her heartbeat increase. With his fully Lucifer armor equipped, he almost looked 7 foot tall. The completely Lucifer form freaked the hell out of Gibson. Despite the chandelier light, his complete Lucifer form darkened the room. The darkness overshadowed the light. He came behind her. With a flick of his wrist, he retrieved a normal wooden chair from the space ring. He placed his hands on her shoulder as Corey felt a chill running through her spine. He pushed her down to make her sit on the chair. Just like she did, he ran his fingers through her face. His sharp claw-like gloves slightly hurt her skin, but she didn't utter a word. You have two choices, darling. You can choose to scream and hope your guards arrive before you turn into our friend Xian there. He cupped her face before turning her neck in the direction where Xian was. The ground was painted with his blood, not even bits of bones remained on the ground. Xian was completely turned into a bloody pulpy mess by Ignitia. Or you can agree to my offer and taste the power of real magic. In one hand, a golden bolt of lightning, in the other, crimson-red flame danced around. Corey could feel the electricity from the lightning bolts and the heat from the crimson-red flame on her skin. He bent down, kissing the top of her head just like how she did to the bald man. Corey's entire body shivered because of the fear toxin Michael released into the air. Not only Corey but also Maxine and Gibson shivered in fear. The fire and lightning bolts above his palms soon faded away. A pendant appeared in his hand. He placed the pendant around her neck. Remove it and you will know there are things worse than death. Corey touched the tiny pendant on her neck. She felt the chill on her neck. He took a few steps to stand in front of her. His hands ran through her shoulder, arms, then he clutched the arms of the chair. Corey's teeth chattered. She slowly tilted her head up to see him bend his back to look directly into her eyes. Erase my offer, darling. He willed the system to stop radiating fear toxin from his suit. Instead, he ordered the system to release the antidote so Corey's mind would become normal. Scam or not, she used her brain to build an empire from scratch. As far as he was concerned, a brain like that was more valuable than any superweapon. Every time he willed the system to radiate fear toxin from his suit, he had to pay 2,000 badass points. It seemed like a waste to him. However, he had no other way because his inventor skill level was too low to build a device into his suit of armor which would control potion releases instead of the system. It changed after he upgraded the inventor skill. He could now build various devices to replace the system. Ever since the system went offline, he started to plan for the future without the system. He realized long ago that he shouldn't completely rely on the system. Since Corey was just a mortal with no cultivation base, the antidote quickly dispelled the fear toxin from her bloodstream. Her pupils retracted as she stared into the crimson-red eyes of Lucifer. You now serve me. You can carry on your pirate lord's work as usual except sometimes. You answer to me or Maxine. Fail to carry your orders and you will be replaced. That's the stick. Michael turned his gaze on the robes on the ground. He just flicked his wrist as the cloth floated into his hands. Maxine and Gibson saw Lucifer covering Corey with her clothes. If you serve me well, you will get rich, powerful, and a shot at immortality. That's the carrot. Corey couldn't believe for a second what she just heard. She had heard of immortals and cultivation continents. Unfortunately, she was born in the southern continent, which made her unable to cultivate to reach higher stages. System, imprint a simple fire conjuring spell into her brain. Back on cultivation continents, even a commoner could conjure sparks or a tiny ball of fire using arch energy. In addition to conjuring fireballs, they were also able to do simple things such as making small objects levitate. Simple tasks such as these did not even require the user to cast spells. They could just manipulate the arch energy with their mind and accomplish that. For cultivators and even for commoners, these tasks were as simple as breathing and use a negligible amount of arch energy. Hence, Michael decided to give Corey a little taste of magic. The system can imprint the ability to conjure fire into her brain for just 4,000 badass points. The system can transfer a tiny amount of arch energy from the host's body to Corey. Do it. As he ordered the system in his mind, he placed his hand on Corey's head. Ah! For the first time since Michael revealed himself as Lucifer, Corey opened her mouth. Seeing her cry, Gibson thought Lucifer was hurting Corey. Corey felt like a bullet ant drilling through her brain. The pain gradually lessened as Corey sensed something different. She couldn't explain the feeling, but she felt a new sensation. It was natural and easy as breathing. What you're feeling is a little taste of the power you can wield in the future. He took several steps back from Corey. If you serve me well, Michael said as Corey lifted her hands, feeling the hot sensation building inside her palm. The very next moment, she snapped her finger like a tiny orb of fire lit up above her palm. The fire danced around her palm as Gibson and Maxine stared at Corey with their eyes wide open. How did you? Shit. In using magic, Corey stuttered. Her eyes were filled with joy and shock. She soon conjured a fireball in each hand. She laughed so wide as though she was a child playing with her favorite toy. A few moments later, playing with the fire, she looked up at Lucifer. Who are you? She asked shockingly. I am Lucifer. People call me the Dark Lord. The moment the words escaped his mouth, a stream of crimson red fire and golden streaks of lightning crisscrossed around him. Coupled with the dark cloud, the fire and lightning scared the shit out of Corey. What's it gonna be, Pirate Lord Corey? Stick or carrot, your choice. As he spoke, Maxine made her way to stand behind Michael. Gibson too soon followed Maxine's footsteps to stand behind him. Corey was not dumb to refuse the offer. It was a once-in-lifetime offer. Besides, he didn't give her much of a choice. She could either agree to serve him or disagree and probably die like Xian. She didn't build an empire by making wrong choices and letting go of opportunities such as this. Hence, naturally she wanted to agree. I agree, Mr. You will address him as my lord, Maxine interrupted Corey. I agree, my lord. My fleet is yours to command. Corey knelt down on one knee. She was an opportunist, not a woman who clung onto pointless pride. You are going to take back the bounty you put on Maxine? His first order to her was regarding the bounty on Maxine's head. He would have loved to have some sea battles if old Bertha had some firepower and was in a fighting condition. If he had Silent Reaper, the mere sight of that beat would have scared the shit out of the pirates. Yes, my lord, Corey immediately agreed with him. She was glad he didn't take her life for putting Maxine's life in danger. As far as Corey could guess, Maxine seemed like the right hand of Lucifer, which kinda made Maxine her superior. Then I'm pretty sure you can spin some story to explain what happened to Xian. My existence must be kept as a secret until I tell you otherwise. Michael did not waste his time and brain thinking about a way to explain Xian's death. A woman who managed to scam the pirates for decades would be able to spin some bullshit story to cover up Xian's death. Until I deal with the other pirate lords, don't engage in combat with the Thusians. Maxine was slightly surprised to hear his order. She thought he would send Corey's entire fleet to chase away the Thusians after subduing her. Instead, he did the exact opposite. My lord, can I ask you something? Yes. Don't be afraid to speak your mind. Your mind is a precious one, it should be used to its full potential. Only then we can rule this entire world. Obviously his words stunned Corey. Hence, her eyes opened as wide as they could. Stand up and speak your mind, Michael said, willing the system to unequip the Lucifer armor. In a blink of an eye, he transformed into his previous human form. Corey heaved a sigh of relief inside. The normal human form was easy to talk to compared to his freakish Dark Lord form. Can I really achieve immortality? Michael smiled hearing her question. He could see the thirst for power and immortality in her eyes. People like her would be easier to control than people with high morals and righteousness. As I said before, serve me well and you will rule a part of this world forever. Chapter 396. At the moment, somewhere else in the southern continent, a man robbed a pearl-white toga with a golden laurel on his head sitting on a throne. The man seemed to be tall but not too tall to stand out in a crowd. This fair-skinned man has a suspicious feel about him. His greasy, light blonde hair was very short and currently dyed completely butterscotch. His forehead got bigger as his hair seemed to be falling out. He had a square face with a cleft chin, a long neck, broad shoulders, toned arms and large hands, a heavy torso with no muscle tone, round hips, weak legs and average-sized feet. He was sitting on the throne as though he was a king who rules the entire kingdom rather than a head senator. His thirst for being a single ruler made him decorate the hall in his manner like a throne hall of a king. In the hall, bulky braziers encompassed each of the 12 marmoreal columns that light up every part of the throne hall, covering the hall in dancing shadows and a warm radiance. The intricate golden patterns on the layered ceiling danced in the flickering light while memorials and statues looked down upon the oaken floor of this sublime hall. A jade rug was running down from the throne for a few meters before coming to an end while forked banners with burnished tufts dangled gently from the walls. Between each banner sat a small altar full of candles. All but a few have been lit and in turn illuminated the paintings of men wearing a toga and golden laurel on their head of the world below them. Slim windows were edged by veils colored the same jade as the banners. The curtains had been adorned with gold leaves and decorating tips. A magnificent throne of oak sits atop a tall elevated platform and was adjoined by 3 plain, but comfortable seats for those closest to the man. Those who wanted to be heard by the man could do so on the several long and rather bulky stone benches, all of which were facing the throne. Those of higher standing such as other senators and nobles could instead take seats in the renovated balustrades overlooking the throne. Your Majesty, from the left side of the throne, a Spartan soldier walked towards the man. The Spartan soldier's boots kept making thud sounds as he came before the man. Immediately the Spartan soldier knelt on his one knee. The man liked to be addressed as Your Majesty as though he was a king rather than senator when they were in his manner. Those who disagreed with his request would disappear overnight. Although Maven was a senate-ruled kingdom, it was ruled by this man alone. The other senators were just puppets of him. He was corrupt to the core with an insatiable thirst for power and money. The soldier placed the spear on the ground before sliding his hand into the red cape he was wearing. In a moment, the soldier retrieved a luminous bluish crystal from his pouch. The crystal was covered in gray dust which dimmed out the crystal. Is that? The man's eyes glistened in excitement. Bring it to me, the man ordered the Spartan. No one was in the throne hall except the man and the Spartan soldier. The man couldn't hold his excitement as before the Spartan could reach him. He stood up, walked straight to the Spartan and grabbed the crystal from the Spartan's hand. Arch energy, pure arch energy, I can feel it, the man grinned, feeling the pulses coming from the crystal. He clenched the crystal so tight. The longer he held the crystal in his hand, the louder his laughter became. It's true, Stormveil Mountain really has arch energy crystals within. Ha 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 ha. His mad laughter echoed through the empty throne hall. Several minutes later, the man finally stopped his mad laughter. Spartan hostess, how many crystals those slaves mined? The last time I counted, they had mined 100 stones, Your Majesty. If you give me the word, I can hire the scholars and engineers to build a pulley system which would speed up the mining process, Your Majesty. The man rubbed his chin for a few moments after hearing the Spartan. You can do that. But after they build everything, kill them and bury them in the mine, the man said without any remorse and hesitation. What about the slaves, Your Majesty? Should I recycle them or make sure they never leave the mine until they die? The Spartan soldier was not much different than the man. Spartan hostess had been serving Senator Vibius Caelius Serius for more than a decade. In this decade of time, he had killed more than 100 people including slaves, nobles and senators for Senator Vibius. Senator Vibius had been spending millions of gold to increase the military power of Maven in secret. No one had a clue that Kingdom Maven had 2 or 3 times the size of other Senate-ruled kingdoms such as Giselle. He was amassing the military power to conquer the Stormveil Mountain. Even if all the Senate-ruled kingdoms formed an alliance to take the Stormveil Mountain from him after they conquered it, Senator Vibius had enough military power to defend the mountain for years. Those idiots have no idea what they have in their hands, Senator Vibius mumbled under his breath with an evil grin on his face. How many slaves working in the mine? Senator asked. 120 slaves, Your Majesty. Killing all of them and buying a new batch of slaves might raise a few eyebrows. Still, mining is a dangerous task. 10 or so slaves could die every month and new slaves could replace them. As he said, the senator made his way back the throne. Make sure none of the slaves currently mining leave the mine alive. The existence of these crystals must be kept secret at all costs. Also, make those scholars prepare a document saying the Stormveil Mountain originally belonged to Maven. Make sure the document looks ancient. Kill them after they finish the job. The Spartan soldier wasn't surprised at all. He expected the order before the senator actually said it. Senator Vibius was waiting for this moment for more than a decade. As far as the people of Maven knew, Senator Vibius came from a long family line of Serius. However, the Serius family was not always called Serius. The first ancestor who found the family came from a secret order. Only the main bloodline knew the existence of the order and the first ancestor's involvement in the secret order. Spartan hostess, to the outside world, we are just mining iron and minerals. Yes, Your Majesty, Spartan hostess bowed before leaving the throne hall. At the moment, the senator was sitting on the throne alone. He looked at the crystal in his hand. Then with the other hand he clenched the medallion on his chest. He pulled the medallion with force. The medallion remained in his hand, radiating a dim glow. The coin-sized black medallion had nothing but a letter etched onto its surface, L. This medallion looked exactly the same as the medallion on Maxina's neck. Order of Death, Vibius snickered. The founding ancestor of the Serius family was a member of the Order of Death. He was one of the few who survived the Guardians. But unlike others, Vibius' ancestor did not escape the Guardians. Rather, he was escorted to the southern continent safely by the Guardians because his ancestor was the man who betrayed the Order to the Guardians for wealth, power, and kingdom. Vibius' ancestor did not believe in the Dark Lord Lucifer and neither did Vibius. As Vibius was looking at the medallion in his hand, another soldier entered the throne hall. He was not a Spartan but a normal soldier who wore full-plate armor and chainmail. Your Majesty, His Lord Canis is here to see you. Vibius quickly put the medallion into his pocket before nodding at the soldier. Several minutes later, Vibius saw a man wearing black robes with a hood covering his head walking towards him. Lord Canis, Vibius chuckled, standing up from his throne. I'm sick of that name, the figure growled before slowly taking off the hood to reveal his golden shoulder-length hair, perfectly sculpted handsome face and bluish eyes. I'm sorry, the name your superiors picked is not as good as your real name, Guardian Connors. Guardian Connors was none other than the man who was part of the Operation New Dawn organized by Peyton and Zanali. He was responsible for gathering information about Ghost and the man who killed Jack. Peyton had no idea that Connors killed Jack during his surveillance. Connors was able to blame the bandits in the forest. Since Operation New Dawn was an off-the-books operation, there was no investigation on Connors. After Peyton dismantled the team, each of the team members was welcomed into the guild as fully-fledged guardians. Afraid of Ghost finding of his involvement in Jack's death, Connors used his connections inside the guild to get himself assigned to a top-secret mission in the southern continent. "Tell me that's the crystal," Connors emphasized the word "the," raising his brows. He walked closer to Vibius to take a closer look at the crystal. Should this be enough to convince the Guardians? With a snicker, Vibius tossed the crystal towards Connors. The moment Connors caught the crystal in his hand, he felt a pulse of energy. He was completely stunned. He could yet again feel the arch energy running through his energy veins. Arch energy. Connors snapped his fingers as a spark of flame appeared above his fingers. Connors' mind went blank. "Impossible?" he mumbled. Though the energy inside the crystal was not enough to cast powerful spells, he could absorb the arch energy from the crystal to perform simple spells which should be impossible considering the southern continent was void of any energies. Not anymore, Guardian Connors. Now let's talk about how bigger the army the Guardians will send here for me to command. Chapter 397, Your Majesty. Just as the two of them were about to discuss the terms of their deal, a soldier entered the throne hall. Connors quickly hid the crystal with his robes. The senator gave the soldier a death glare as the soldier's face went pale behind his metal helmet. "What?" Vibius growled like an animal. "Senator Caius is here to meet you." Vibius was taken aback by surprise. He didn't receive any report of Caius' visit to Maven from Giselle ambassadors or his spies. "Why wasn't I informed about his visit?" Vibius asked the soldier. "Your Majesty, Senator Caius just suddenly appeared with another one. They are requesting an audience with you." Yet again Vibius was surprised by the soldier. He couldn't help but raise his brows. Even Connors, who was standing beside Vibius, had a frown on his face. "Weird." Vibius rubbed his chin. The soldier remained in the hall waiting for Vibius' orders. After pondering for a few moments, Connors opened his mouth. "The other guy you mentioned, does he pose a threat to the senator?" "No, my lord, they are both unarmed. The Spartans already confirmed they have no weapons on them." Connors listened to the soldier patiently. "What do you think, Lord Canis?" Vibius asked Connors. Connors was confident in his combat ability as he was trained by the best coaches in the Guardian Guild. In addition to his training, they had Spartans waiting outside the throne hall. If Caius or the other guy tried to do any harm, they would be dead before they could reach Vibius. Besides, if Connors could broker peace between the two kingdoms, his job of getting the crystals to the Guardians would be much easier. Otherwise, the Guardians would have to allocate resources such as an army and weapons to Maven to fight Giselle. "I say we should ask Caius why is he here." Vibius racked his brain for a few minutes before nodding at the soldier. Connors quickly put the crystal deep within his inner pocket. "Send them in, but make sure the Spartans are within a shouting range," Vibius ordered the soldier as the soldier bowed before leaving the throne hall. "What if Caius becomes a problem, Guardian Connors?" While they were waiting for Caius to enter the throne hall, Vibius asked Connors. "Then we deal with it in the Guardian way." Connors waved his hands casually. "And what is that? Solve the problem or make it disappear?" The cold smile that emerged on Connor's face indicated the true meaning of his words. Vibius was thinking the same. If Caius became too much of a nuisance, he was planning to assassinate Caius. It would be difficult to assassinate a head senator in his own kingdom, but Vibius had connections with the Grim Reapers. Only a handful of few knew the existence of Grim Reapers in the southern continent. Vibius was one of those few people. The two of them were already planning on killing Caius. They had zero clues that the Dark Lord himself was coming to greet them. After waiting for the guest to appear for a few minutes, Vibius finally saw Caius wearing a white toga and golden laurel on his head walking towards him with a tall youngster in a long gray coat and black pants. His dress was not of a southern noble but was similar to Connor's robes. He seemed like he came from one of the Cultivation continents. Nonetheless, Vibius paid little attention to the youngster because no matter who he was or where he came from, when he stepped inside the void line, he was nothing but a mere mortal. Vibius put on a fake smile to welcome Caius. Vibius noticed the fake smile on Caius' face as well as the cold sweat drop on his forehead. "Senator Caius, I didn't expect you to visit me suddenly." Vibius and Caius shook their hands as Connor stared at the youngster behind Caius. He had an uneasy feeling in his gut. Connors noticed the youngster looking at Vibius, but soon, his gaze slowly turned towards him. Ouch! When Vibius was shaking Caius' hands, he suddenly let out a muffled cry. Connors was shocked. Still, before Connors could react, he saw the youngster behind Caius suddenly disappear. His mind went blank as he felt a sharp pain. Within a second after he felt the sharp pain, everything around him turned dark. Arg! Connors let out a moan, slowly regaining his consciousness. He tried to move his arms and legs, but he simply couldn't. He opened his eyes, fighting the pain in his head. Finally he's awake. Connors was not sure what he just heard. The voice he just heard didn't sound like a human. Struggling to move his body, he opened his eyes to see nothing but an endless ocean around him. The half-moon and the millions of stars in the sky were the only light source. He looked down at his hands to see his hands and legs are tied up with ropes. He gritted his teeth trying to get himself out of the ropes. Don't bother. While Connors was trying to get himself out of the ropes, he heard a voice from behind. This time the voice sounded human. Hrs, Connors growled as he turned back to see a Spartan soldier behind him. The Spartan soldier was in no better shape than him. His hands and legs were tied using ropes too. If it wasn't for the red cape, golden chest armor as well as a crimson-red tunic, Connors wouldn't have recognized the man as a Spartan. The red feather-covered helmet indicated that the man was not a mere soldier but someone who held high rank in the Spartan army. At the moment, the Spartan's ranking didn't help him as he also remained a prisoner. Connors then turned his gaze away from the Spartan and saw several other figures kneeling on the floor with their hands and legs tied. Looking at their togas and golden laurels on their heads, Connors could tell all of them were nobles. Vibius, Connors mumbled when he saw Vibius among the nobles. However, Vibius didn't notice Connors as all the nobles had their eyes covered with a cloth. Except for him and the Spartan, everyone had a cloth around their eyes. What happened? Connors asked himself. He tried to recall what just happened. One moment he was in the throne hall looking at the youngster behind Caius, and the next moment he felt a sharp pain and then he woke up here. His memory was clouded. He tried his best to clear out the fog. As he thought deeply, he remembered the youngster suddenly vanishing into thin air. For a few moments, Connors just looked around to see where he was. Even though they were on the upper deck of a ship, Connors saw no crew members. In addition to the lack of crews, he also noticed the lack of cannons around him. The upper deck was void of any cannons. Where are we? Connors asked the Spartan. The Spartan soldier looked around before sighing. The better question is, how did we end up here? Where were you before this? The Spartan soldier asked. Connors didn't immediately answer the Spartan. Despite the confusion of how he ended up here, Connors was able to tell that he was either poisoned to lose consciousness and transported here or he was teleported. But the latter possibility seemed impossible as no one could use teleportation within the void line. Hence, Connors bet on the poison theory, which made sense as he felt a sharp pain like a bee sting in the back of the neck before he lost consciousness. Connors couldn't trust the Spartan. What if the Spartan was one of those who kidnapped him? Suddenly Connors realized something as he quickly touched his chest. Shit, Connors cursed out loud. When he touched his pockets he couldn't find the crystal inside. If you are searching for a weapon, don't. They stripped all the weapons, the Spartan told Connors. I'm not looking for any weapon, Connors growled. His mind disregarded the possibility of him being teleported. Instead, he thought someone poisoned him and transported him with the others to the ship. You have no idea who you are messing with. Suddenly Connors shouted loudly. He was so pissed as he wanted to kill whoever kidnapped him. I tried that. The Spartan soldier shook his head. Shut up, Spartan, Connors snickered. As far as Connors was concerned, Spartans were nothing but glorified slaves to the senators. They were pawns. Did you hear the voice? Connors asked the Spartan as he nodded. It didn't sound human, did it? The Spartan asked. The Spartan seemed to be more worried about something else than escaping his bonds, unlike Connors. Connors was struggling and trying to bite the ropes that tied his arms. A guardian? While Connors was struggling to escape from the ropes, he yet again heard the animalistic voice. This time he heard the voice coming from above him. The Spartan and Connors looked at the sky as their eyes immediately went wide open. Their jaws dropped a couple of inches down in complete shock. What? Connors couldn't believe his eyes. A figure enveloped in a black cloud of smoke was slowly descending to the ship. His heart skipped a beat as he started to shiver. He kinda recognized the figure. He had seen the vague images resembling the figure on Peyton's board during the New Dawn operation. Lucifer, Connors mumbled as the dark figure landed on the ship. The black smoke enveloped the armor, but Connors could vaguely see the black armor and the crimson-red eyes. The last time he talked to Peyton before ending the New Dawn operation, Peyton told him Lucifer had been dealt with. He believed Peyton because she also told him the Alpha Guardian of Hunter Guardians herself came to apprehend Lucifer. Since the Guardians kept the matter of Lucifer extremely secret, he couldn't get any more information. Plus, he was too busy partying and spending his time in the arms of beauties to think about Lucifer. You're tuning in to the Han Lee's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.